on the tee.
Of functionality, all for the singularity of Hermès, a house of objects created to last.
Presenting our live stream is Dodd Technologies, an industry leader in creative design and technology support services for sports, entertainment, corporate, and special events. Visit us online at doddtechnologies.com.
The USCF is also a presenting sponsor of our live stream, in partnership with the support of the US Equestrian Federation and the USCF Network. Welcome everybody to Wellington International. My name is Ellen Sweetnam and I'm joined here today with Ali Wolf. Thank you, Ali, for joining me.
Of course.
We are here for the $150,000 Hermès season finale here in Wellington under the lights. We have an exciting lineup ahead of us today. We have 50 competitors to take on today's course. We have a mix of different riders and different horses. We've ranging from less experienced horses with experienced riders to more of the less experienced riders and some experienced horses. We also will see some Olympic mounts coming into this to us today. Carl Cook will return to our ring today with his Olympic mount from Paris. Ahead of today's course, we're going to have a look at a few of the people that we will see. Ali, looking at the lineup, is there anybody that sticks out to you that you are wants to watch for today?
I mean, you just named. We have Olympians in this track, Olympic horses, Olympic riders, so it's going to be really exciting. And also, just like what you touched base on, we're going to see some of those younger horses with some of those experienced riders kind of maybe come to fruition. This is the end maybe of their circuit, the culmination of their class. So I think we're going to see some really exciting horses also for the future in some of the higher level sports as well. Obviously, not to be overlooked, Kent Farrington and Caracol with... Carl. I was like, he is just one to watch. He is going to be racing if he gets into the jump off, among so many others that we'll go down the list later, I think, when we go talk about the course.
Yeah, and as you said, some of them finishing out their season with us in week 11. We do have our Rolex Grand Prix next week, and some of those riders and combinations that we'll see tonight we won't see next week. So this is their finale for the Winter Equestrian Festival for 2025.
Correct, and that's 12 plus weeks of getting this horse ready specifically for this class. This is a huge money class. And like you said, this is not over for the circuit yet, but this could be over for this horse specifically. Yeah, for sure. And Andy Christensen building our course today. Ali, looking at the course, is there anything that sticks out to you that you might find that will catch people? Anything that, might be a little bit unique for his building? I know during the class yesterday, during our WEF qualifier, he built a double in the middle of the course that was people were very unsure of it. It was very standout of his technique. Is there anything from his style of today's class he will stick out to you? Andy's such a skilled builder. A lot sticks out to us specifically. Also keeping in mind that we are under the lights where a lot of 150 horses haven't seen before. So we're going to start over just a nice vertical, the Bainbridge vertical, make a nice swooping left turn to our Cask Oxer. From there, we're going to hit that left turn to the Hermès vertical with the Liverpool underneath. We're going to take a right-hand turn, and right by the in-gate, that's going to be, I think, our first tricky question, is a 5-stride to a 1-stride double of verticals, possibly a 6 if people so choose. This next coming oxer, this fan oxer, it's beautiful, but it's very uphill, very square, and a very short stride to a 4 of a very, very skinny, very boring, very hard to see, skinny left-hand turn to a Liverpool oxer. Following that Liverpool oxer, we're going to take a right-hand turn to our orange double that measures in 2 strides. From there, straight down to a very airy plank that has 3 planks right on top. Those white planks, hard to see, 7 strides. Taking a right-hand turn to the Brain Java triple bar. And then we're going to kind of scoot a little bit left and probably 7 strides we'll see most likely to a vertical oxer double, followed by a right-hand turn, finishing with our Hermès oxer.
Yeah, time allowed is set at that 77 seconds for our first round today. As we said, this is the finale for the 1m50 Hermès League here in Wellington International. Top of the leaderboard at the moment is Spencer Smith on 260 points, Cian O'Connor 238, and Nicola Philparts on 234. They're our top three. They are also not competing tonight, so these three at the top will not compete in tonight's class. One to watch for tonight will be Max Watchman. He's on 215 points. The point system will work with our winner getting 51 points, so that's the 50 that we will see in the class plus 1 for our winner tonight. So Max is in range of that. If he finishes within the top 6 tonight, he could definitely catch Spencer Smith to take the lead over this leaderboard and win it out for the season. Also, Niall Nassar on 200 points in 5th place, Luis Fernando Lazabel in 6th on 196, Mark Blumen in 7th, currently in 179 points, Alessandro Volpi in 8th on 168 points, Eduardo de Menezes in 9th on 165 points, and Tom Watchman in 10th on 159. So definitely an exciting lineup to see tonight. As I said, we will see 50 to show in tonight's class. We will see 25 before our drag, and then we will resume with another 25 after the drag. And Ali, as you said, we spoke a little bit about these 1m50 horses. Not many of them would have jumped in the lights before, so this is a change of scenery for them, and for the WEF season to close it out.
Exactly. This is a great test for maybe some of these younger horses. A lot of the 150s that we've seen jumping throughout these 11 weeks have been during the daytime. So this might be some horses' first times getting under the lights. As well, for the past several weeks, we've seen a lot of 4 and 5 stars. That's a lot of measuring at 155, 160. Some of these horses may not have been able to jump in those classes, may not be old enough to jump in those classes. So again, maybe they jumped under the lights in the beginning of the circuit, but maybe haven't seen the under the lights since then. A lot has changed. I mean, look at the spectators here. We can never underestimate the atmosphere that you have going on in this arena.
Yeah, for sure. It's an exciting lineup ahead of us today. Zoe Conter will be our first to take on today's course, built tonight by, as I said, Andy Christensen. Some other ones to watch: Max Watchman, our potential winner of this league. He is 6 to go in tonight's class. Some other exciting combinations: Michaela Langmeyer comes in on her mount, Brian Goutal on SNL, Maradona Heffenink. Exciting lineup there. Some other SNL horses that we'll see throughout the class. Niamh McAvoy, a young Irish rider, very up and coming, has had a very successful WEF season with us so far. As I said, Bert Jamal, another Irish rider, has had a very consistent season with us. We will see a lot of riders that have come throughout the season that have, really been on the up and coming throughout the weeks that we've had here so far in Wellington.
Exactly. And like you said as well, we have maybe seen some of these horses jump in some of these Grand Prix. These riders maybe are bumping them down a level to be extremely competitive in such a big money purse. We've seen a lot. Niall's been knocking at the door. I think he's very, very close to a win. I know he wants one very bad. Mark Blumen has had a great season, as well as Daniel. We can't even count out Roberta Turan with that Iron Maiden horse. She's been so consistent these past couple of weeks. So it's anyone's game at this point.
Yeah, for sure. And we definitely have a fast lineup ahead of us. As you can see on your screen, Irishman Connor Swale coming back to us here in Wellington after spending some time on the West Coast. So coming back to us, and Connor's always one that's so fast. He's always one to watch. If he's in that jump off, he's going to put everything he can into it.
Absolutely. You can never discount him.
Some other ones to watch in tonight's class. We'll see some up-and-coming riders, as we said, some seasoned riders. A very exciting lineup for us tonight. Ahead of our class tonight, we will see Zoe Conter, as I said, first into the ring. We will see that 25 before our drag break, quick touch above the surface, and then 25 after the drag break. As you said, Ali, the atmosphere inside here, it's definitely something to consider for these riders, is to look at the atmosphere and, the different crowds that we have here at night compared to during the day.
For sure, for sure. And, walking the course, you typically walk this course with a little bit of sunset. And then if you go later on in the class, you kind of walk into this class, into this ring, and under the lights, it's dark. It's all of a sudden you take for a second realizing, oh my gosh, this is a completely different setup than I just walked about an hour and a half before. So With that said, we see the lights coming on, getting a little bit brighter under the lights. Zoe's the first in the ring, and we wish them good luck.
Yeah, first to go will be Zoe Contour. She is aboard H5 Chacofini. This is a 14-year-old mare by Choco Blue out of Stephanie. These two been consistent already through their WEF season. During WEF 7, they jumped their first FEI class together. It was a new mount for Zoe, so relatively new, only on week 11 now, so very new for these two together. They were double clear in a 2-star 1m40 together, also picking up some placings and clear rounds during WEF 9. They had just a singular time fault in a 4-star 1m50 classic, so part of this league that we'll see the finale tonight.
Yeah, Zoe and her sister Emily are no strangers now to the circuit. They've had a great circuit. Zoe, we've seen a few newer horses come through. Emily, we just actually saw a major, major victory from her during that last 5-star event, which was incredibly exciting to watch. So we just saw fences 1, 2, 3. You know, Andy kind of just nicely rolls you into the course, kind of single, single, single fences. This is kind of your first big test right at the in-gate. You know, a non-seasoned horse might get a little bit distracted riding by that in-gate. And this, to me, is our first huge oxer uphill, very square, followed by a short 4 strides. We'll probably see, if you're counting, about an 8 strides to that Liverpool oxer. You see a lot of water in and around it. Big feature there. Very short 2. And a very short 7. Very skinny planks on the upside down cups. We know that just a tick of the toe will knock them down. There we see the 7. Short 1. And 8 to bring us home.
There we go, first in, and our first clear round there for Zoe Contour, giving us a clear in 73.17. So good start to the class, first in and first clear.
Absolutely, and these sisters are really sweeping up our competition here. They are on form.
Yeah, next in we will see, just looking at the replay there, just from Zoe, very consistent the whole way around, very even pace, you know, didn't seem rattled by anything in particular around the course.
Not at all, and she made it look so easy. So it's going to be interesting to see what these next few competitors are going to make it look like.
Yeah, our second to go into today's class will be Jorge Mate. He is aboard Chacolito. This is a 12-year-old gelding by Chaco Fly out of Hestia. This is a previous mount of Dara Kenny. Dara picking up some top results with it in New York. Jorge taking over the mount just at the end of 2024. During WEF 6, they just picked up a few time falls in a 3-star 1m40. And very consistent season so far together.
Yeah, and Jorge, no stranger to big competition, representing his country in a lot of events. Just made light work of fences 1, 2, and 3. Had a little bit of a light rub on fence 3. Nice 5-stride to the double of verticals. This is a little bit of a slower moving horse than we just saw with Zoe. And again, that fan jump, I believe, is not to be overlooked. That is quite a big fence. It has a lot of feature underneath it with that fan. It's coming off a very short turn. Quite spooky. Not tonight.
No, just that fan jump, but causing a bit of issue there for Jorge Mate. It's something that we've seen develop throughout the season with us, as the more, you know, unique jumps, let's call them, have been put into the ring. So it's definitely making riders step up, and it is bringing up the level because we've jumped at that consistent level. So adding a little bit of an extra element to our courses.
Absolutely. And, you know, some of these horses probably have seen a lot of these fences throughout these weeks. However, you know, placed in different positions, they could look completely new. Again, coming off that really short turn, riding very, very big, very square uphill. That's just a lot to look at, especially for maybe a less experienced horse or rider.
So 1 clear so far. Our first in, Zoe Contour, was our only clear. Our third to go will be Michael Murphy. He is aboard Kaydan CM. This is a 10-year-old mare by Cannon out of Lenajo. These two having a very consistent season so far, picking up some wins all over the season. In week 4, they were the winners of a 2-star Grand Prix on the grass field. Also during week 9, they were the winners of the 1m50 Classic, so part of this Hermès series that we've had here in Wellington so far.
Absolutely. This is a really consistent pair, very competitive, and just looked like he got a little bit deep to the cask. The horse shifted a little bit to the right over top to make room and just kind of cut down on that back rail. Getting into the 5. Nice one stride. Big effort over that oxer. Nice jump over the middle Liverpool. A little bit deep to that 2 stride. And then just took the B element coming out. I think the horse just kind of had to stretch over that vertical and then collect right quickly again for that plank. And just a little bit the change of pace, I think, got to the horse. Now that's a really tight one stride going uphill. I feel like we might see a lot of issues with that coming forward into the class. Again, Zoe made it look so easy. It's really not. It's a very tough track, very big, tall, airy, verticals, very wide, square oxers.
I think that's something that's a testament to Andy's building. We saw a little bit throughout the week of his building. He kind of gives people a false sense of security at the start. He makes the first couple of jumps quite easy, quite flowing, and then he really ramps it up for the riders.
Absolutely. You know, he kind of encourages the rider to kind of continue in the beginning of the course, maybe making up some time, although we'll see if time allowed is a factor. And then adding a few questions, a few tests in the middle of the course, and then kind of followed by a little bit of a swoopy, nice last fence, kind of bookending his course together.
Yeah. Next in our 5th to go will be Ireland's Nicky Galligan. He is aboard VDL Nikita van der Lorik. This is a 12-year-old mare by Zaval VDL out of Denaro van der Lorik. These two picking up some top placing so far. During WEF 1, they were 3rd in the 3-star WEF Challenge Cup. Also taking some top placings throughout the weeks, consistently getting placed during week 7 and also week 9.
Yeah, Nicky actually won the qualifier for this class as well. So he actually is one to watch coming into this class. You know, this horse is such a trier. She really gives it her all for him. She really folds herself inside out. You know, we've seen her jump some big tracks, some 4-stars. Big effort in the oxer. A little bit of a stutter step going into the 4-stride to that tall, airy, skinny. Just looked like, you know, Andy, for that skinny, Andy had a nice design. He put the plank right at the bottom of that skinny, so the horses tend to look down, stare at that white plank, and they don't tend to see that light blue colored pole at the top.
He's really used the colors of the jumps and, you know, the type of jumps in tonight's class to really bring out the best in this finale.
Absolutely, and we expect nothing less. You know, the water, the Liverpool with the water feature around it, that's just a lot for horses to come through that corner and look at.
Yeah, Nicky just coming home there on the 4 jumping falls in 75.04. So just on that one clear so far, our first in and our only clear within our first 4 that we've seen. So we Contour putting in a very easy looking clear round.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Jesus, people are probably watching that thinking this is going to be maybe a giveaway, but definitely not.
Back-to-back Irish riders. We will next welcome in Ireland's Cormac Hanley. He is aboard Ferdad. Ferdad is a 9-year-old stallion out of Firth of Loam, out of Loita. These two picking up some placings in Ocala over the winter. Also, Cormac was the winner of the 5-year-old Young Jumper Classic here last week on some of his younger mounts. So nice to see riders bringing up some young horses also and having the opportunity to bring them into the, you know, the big stadium ring and jump them here.
Absolutely, and it's really great for the experience and exposure for these young horses as well. And you know, talking about young horses, this is a younger horse, especially for some of these big classes jumping, 9-year-old. So I know he's really taking his time to develop this horse. Has a lot of potential. Has already jumped a few FEI level events. Nicely through that 5 to the 1 stride. Good effort over the oxer, getting into the 4. Just takes the front rail of that Liverpool down. The horse just looked like he got a little bit quick towards the Liverpool. And again, something to really stare at through that water obstacle. Also takes A and B. You know, this horse is a very quick, hot horse. I think Cormac is really just having to try and focus and keeping him calm, keeping the shape of the jump. It's very steady through this double. I think we might look to retire.
Yeah, Cormac just choosing to retire there. But as we said, a younger horse coming into the ring today, you know, jumping under the lights with the atmosphere that we have here, it's a big step up for a younger horse to come in here and, in theory, not really seem phased by too much around him.
Absolutely, and he's taking a courtesy first fence, as we see there. And again, we've seen this horse do great things with Cormac. I know that they're going to come back for the future. You know, it can't be understated how light these obstacles, these fences, have gotten throughout the years. The cups are so shallow. All it really takes is just a light rub. So, you know, some of those fences coming down and really just a tick of the toe and it just falls. So nothing major there. We'll definitely see him again.
Next in, we welcome Max Watchman. Max is aboard Fancy de Kurgan. This is a 10-year-old stallion by Baran de Kurgan out of Vita de Kurgan. Max is the only one on our leaderboard that can potentially take that win away from Spencer Smith tonight. These two already having a successful season together. Obviously are top on that leaderboard for tonight's class, consistently jumping at the top level in both 3 stars and 4 stars, and getting placed in 5 stars here in Wellington. Is a previous mount of trainer Keane O'Connor.
Yeah, and they have a great system of, you know, I think he just added the 6 strides there. It's going to be interesting to see some horse and rider combinations, maybe opting for that shorter 6 going into a really delicate double of verticals. Just actually having the front rail of that oxer. Again, a big oxer going uphill. You want to kind of push at it, but like we talked about, these fences are so light and delicate. But the Watchmans and Keane have such a great system. You know, Keane obviously helping on the ground, and then also with their riding, starting with some of these horses, some of these younger horses, taking them in, getting some experience at some of these bigger levels. And then the brothers kind of taking over and starting to really compete with them themselves. So jumping beautifully through that double combination down to the last, and we'll see the time. Time is a factor. Nope.
Yeah, just inside that time allowed there. Max finishing up with the 4 jumping falls in 76.60, slotting himself into 3rd place as of now. Max will have to finish within the top 6 to be able to beat Spencer's time, or Spencer's points. So something we might have to see. We would expect more than 6 clears tonight, but you know, with 6 gone so far, we only have that 1 clear. So definitely might be something to play in for the rest of tonight's class.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure he already knew that coming in too. So, you know, that added extra pressure. But beautiful round nonetheless. I think, like you said, we will probably get more than six clear rounds.
Next in, we have another Irish rider. Richie Maloney is in the ring next. He is aboard Skelwith Diamond Lady. This is in Leviron Mare by Kasaka Dissimili out of Skelwith Lady Delilah.
And with Richie, you know, he's a great producer of some of these horses. This is definitely a newer mount for him, or newer for us watching. Always a quick rider, though.
These two spending some time in Ocala this winter and picking up some results. They had a 7th place finish in a 3-star 1m45 classic in Ocala. Also having a top 10 finish in 2-star 1m40 in Ocala.
Ooh, really gave a huge jump at that oxer. Landed so shallow. I think Richie Had a smart move to kind of try to add the 5 really quickly, noticing that he's not going to get down in the 4 strides. Made a really quick adjustment. This horse is a very hot horse. So he's able to kind of bounce that stride in. And now he just kind of needs to calm down a little bit, or calm the horse's brain down a little bit, just to kind of keep the attention for these last few fences. Very easy double. Gets away with it. Big ride to the last oxer.
There we go, our second clear round coming there from Richie Maloney, guaranteeing us a jump off in today's Hermès 1.50m finale here in Wellington International. So 2 clear so far, those coming from Zoe Contour and Richie Maloney.
You know, it's nice to see Richie kind of back up into some of these bigger classes. Always such a great rider, great person, and he had to work really hard for that clear round, but that was very well deserved. Very exciting horse for the future as well.
You can see him just coming down that line, recovered so well from the little bounce. Next in, we welcome Michaela Langmeyer. She is aboard Chadina. This is a 12-year-old mare by Canthargos out of Karawawa. These two jumping up to a 5-star level together. During WEF 9, they were second in a 5-star 1.45 m.
Yeah, we've definitely seen this pair a lot throughout the years, actually. Really great, fun pair to watch. She's had tons of success with this horse. She won a 150 out in Thermal not too long ago during the 5-star World Cup qualifier week. And you know, we've seen a lot of these riders now traveling so much during the circuit, you know, week in, week out. We have 12 to 13 weeks of competition. There's also, I'm just kind of belly rubbed that last skinny vertical there, and then just followed with a little bit at that Liverpool oxer. Like I was saying, we've seen a lot of these riders kind of rotate different types of shows, keeping their horses a little bit fresh to some of this atmosphere. We've seen horses and riders going back and forth from Thermal, Ocala here, so it's great opportunity for everyone to kind of see different places, and again for us here to see different horses and riders. We've also seen a ton of European riders this year, so it's a really exciting competition.
Yeah, it really shows the caliber of shows and competition we have here now in North America, that people can jump here and base themselves in Wellington, but mix it up a little bit, going to the West Coast and also spending some time in Ocala. But primarily people basing themselves here with us in Wellington, and knowing that we are the primary location for equestrian sports in the US, and they can spend some time with us and then just travel a little bit to get a little bit of a change of scenery.
Absolutely, and like we're talking about seeing some people going back and forth. We saw Kent jumping in Ocala the other day. Now he's back tonight, making a special trip for us back to the 150 final here.
Yeah, he'll definitely be one to watch in tonight's class. He is definitely on a mission over the season. And next in, we welcome Brianna Marteau. She is aboard SNL Maran van de Heffenich. This is a 13-year-old stallion by Desire de Chou out of Hinika van de Orenoff. Another one, of our competitors are consistent in this 1.50m series so far.
Exactly, I was just going to say, Brianne's such a beautiful, soft rider. Just never looks like she's really doing anything up there. Always fun and exciting to watch her. Really is taking this horse. Okay, this horse is 13, but, really developed him really nicely over the past couple years. She jumped great through that 4-stride there. I think we'll see a little bit of issues with that really tall, airy, skinny, going right into the crowd. It's very hard to focus on those blue-colored fences. Just got a little bit deep into that 2-stride. Horse didn't quite rock back, and again, that whole line is coming home. I think the horse senses it's coming home and wants to jump a little bit more at the fences than rocking back. We've seen this double be very steady, jumping a little bit uphill as well, and it's a very short, tall double. No problem with the last.
Yeah, Brian just coming home with the 4 jumping falls. That obstacle at 9A coming down. As you said, looking at different parts of the course, 12A and B, it is on that uphill, but it's kind of hard to see when you're watching the live stream to understand that there is a real angle in the ring.
Absolutely. The crown or the pitch of the ring is not to be understated. The great course designers, especially Andy, has really played with the pitch, jumping uphill, jumping downhill. Horses tend to kind of hold themselves almost even going downhill. And then you really have to ride them uphill. Like we talked about that fan fence earlier on in the course, number 6. You really want to push for such a big oxer going uphill. But again, so delicate at that point with a short floor following. It's hard to ride.
Yeah. Welcoming back in another SNL Farms horse. This is SNL Kotara van der Moerenhof with Mara Delorier. This is a 9-year-old gelding by Jean Pleasure van der Moerenhof out of Donvaro de Moerenhof. These two having a consistent season throughout the whole weeks, jumping during WEF 0 Premier Week, jumping in our Adequan WEF Challenge Cup, as also jumping in the week 4, week 7, picking up some top results. And during week 7, they were 6th in the 5-star WEF Challenge Cup.
Yeah, this is a fun pair to watch. Again, a horse so scopy. Might need to always pay a little bit of attention to the time allowed. He does travel well, has a huge stride. And, Mario is a quick rider himself, so really making a quick pace around that corner into the 2-stride. Got away with a tiny rub. Fighting to hold back on that 7 strides.
That is something that riders have to look at with those scopier horses, just to watch the time allowed a bit, because they spend a little bit more time in the air.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially with some of these young horses, 9-year-old we're seeing here. Can jump this height, no problem for sure. We see her clear round.
There we go, Mario, giving us our 3rd clear in today's class, joining Ireland's Richie Maloney and Zoe Contour. So 3 clears so far out of our 10 that we have seen.
Like some of these horses, have definitely seen some classes like this, but maybe not have been put to the test under a tighter time allowed, where they have to kind of hustle around and also focus on what they're jumping at a quicker pace.
Yeah, for sure. Just seeing Mario's replay there. Very consistent the whole way around, as you said, cutting a little bit of the corners here and there, but just keeping that rhythm to make sure he's inside that time allowed. Our 11th to see in today's class will be Vanessa Hood. She is aboard Burlington Riverland. This is a 14-year-old gelding by My Lord Cartago out of Conesa de Riverland. These guys picking up some placings together. They were the winners of a 3-star 1m40 in Ocala earlier this month. Also picking up some top results with us here in Wellington.
This is definitely a newer mount for Vanessa. But a seasoned horse. This is a great horse. We've seen it a ton. Huge success with Renee Dittmer. Chloe Reed as well as Michael Hughes. So this horse has had a lot of great success under some different riders, but change of rider. Vanessa doing a great job with this horse. Just had a little bit deep into that fence number 3, that Hermès vertical with the Liverpool underneath it. But again, getting to know this horse, this is a very, very new partnership. Coming off, especially a male ride, could also take a little bit of an adjustment with a female ride. And just figuring out kind of what buttons to press, when to half halt, when to kick.
And as you said, it's also the horse getting used to the rider. It's, the rider definitely has to get used to the horse, but it's the horse figuring out the rider style, how they move, and how to best match together.
Absolutely. And at this height, it's just the smallest of incremental adjustments. It just rolls away that top pole of that A element as well, and choosing, I think, to retire.
Yeah, just waiting for a wave of the hand to confirm.
And again, to jump in a 150 final down here in Wellington, this is such a great experience and exposure. Maybe some fine tuning or little tweaks here and there, nothing major. They're already having a lot of success as is. And I think it's going to be an extremely fun partnership for Vanessa.
Yeah, and as you said, jumping 1.50 m here in Wellington, we have some of the best in the world that have competed here and have based themselves with us here for the season. You know, world number 1 Henrik van Eckermann has spent a lot of his winter with us here. Olympic champion Christian Kukuk spending a lot of his time with us also. So it's definitely testament to the caliber of riders and horse that we have here in Wellington for the winter season. We will now see an Irish up-and-coming rider, Niamh McAvoy. She's aboard Sevilla van der Burpenhof Z. This is an 8-year-old mare by Cicada Gold out of Hillemont of van der Burpenhof. GBBS International listed as the ownership of this mount.
Yeah, and as you said, another young horse that we see in this arena. Just looked like it stood off a little bit from that cast front rail and just had the back rail. But again, 8 years old. It's a huge ask for a horse such as that aged, coming into this big arena, this type of atmosphere. You know, if you think about it, we are March, and a lot of these horses aren't actually born until May, even June. So technically, this horse might not even be a full 8-year-old.
Yeah, these two's having some successes over in Europe during the Young Horse Championships in Lanaken last year. They were finished 7th overall in the 7-year-old, so definitely a horse to watch, a younger horse to keep an eye on throughout its development.
Has such a beautiful jump, though. A ton of scope. Great adjustment in the 7 strides. You know, at this point now, she just kind of wants to hold his hand and make sure the horse has confidence finishing the course. Beautiful jump at the triple bar. Just gets a little bit steady. Really came off nicely, that B element. And finished really strong.
Niamh finishing up there on the 8 jumping falls in 76.71. But as you said, a very young horse to be jumping in tonight's class, only an 8-year-old. Niamh, very good at developing young horses, jumps in Lanaken pretty much every year with different horses for Greg Broderick. So an up-and-coming rider in both Ireland and now jumping here in Wellington International for the winter season.
Exactly, and I think it just maybe stood a little bit off that, you know, the cask oxer has those 2 planks together right underneath it, spelling out cask. That is very daunting as your second fence to stare down at, so I think it just maybe took it by surprise a little bit. The 5 got a little bit away from her as well, so just very, very basic, tiny, small mistakes.
Our second H5 sport horse steps into the ring now. Already with 1 clear with Zoe Contour, H5 Nakando steps into the ring now. This is a 10-year-old mare by Comolfont out of Grand Desert. These two having a consistent season so far with us. During WEF 2, they were 4th in the 3-star 1.50 m Classic. Also placing in the 1.50 m Classic during WEF 3, picking up a 6th place during that week, which was a 4-star.
Yeah, Eduardo Meneses is always, he's such a, especially for a tall guy, he's such a very smooth rider, super competitive. We've seen him represent his country so many times, produce some great horses. Really getting the 4 done nicely. And then steadying really nicely for that Liverpool. We've definitely seen this 2-stride kind of come into play, and there it comes again. You know, I think he took maybe a feel in the 2-stride to slow the horse down. The horse is coming home. It got a little bit at the fence. Maybe that half halt just kind of interrupted the rhythm and hollowed out the back just a tiny bit. And again, we talked about that 1-stride being such a short distance and an uphill oxer. Horse just jumped a tiny bit at that oxer, but again, very, very light rubs. Looks like a very exciting horse for him as well.
Yeah, just coming home there on the 8 jumping faults. As you said, already 1 H5 sport horse clear already with Zoe Contour. Just looking at that second part of the double, it's the fence that's come down the most, coming down 4 times already out of the 13 that we've seen.
Huh. I love these statistics, actually.
And when walking the course, Ali, did you think it was going to be as much of an issue as it has been playing in
Not
tonight's
at
class?
all. No, I honestly thought that the 5 stride to the 1 stride would be more of an issue than that orange double. But again, taking into placement where Andy has placed these fences, that 2 stride coming home, maybe going the opposite direction may not have had so much issue so far.
Our 14th to see in today's class will be Francisco Goyaga. He is aboard Grisby de Paulet. This is a 9-year-old stallion by Urano de Carni out of Stacana de Thorn.
Yeah, this is definitely a newer mount for him as well. We saw actually winning the 145 Wednesday of the 4-star that we had here during March 19th. So they've already had some success down here. Just moving up a little bit into that 150. So this is a little bit of a bigger ask for this horse-rider combination, just being so new to each other. And I had to urge him down forward into the 4-stride and just rolled off that top pole. That fan oxer being so big and stout, the horse is making such an effort over top of it. Some of them are landing a little bit shallow, a little bit confused as to where to go next. We saw that a little bit with Francisco, where he had to ask the horse to move forward, and moving forward to such a delicate skinny such as that one is a hard ask. Stretched really nicely over that triple bar. Just rolled off that top rail. Again, this double I think is going to be a little bit of an issue as well, as a little bit of a stumble after the last fence, but recovered nicely.
Yeah, just coming home there with the 12 false there, but also a 9-year-old, relatively very young to be going into a big 1.50 m class under the lights here in Wellington.
Absolutely, and a super new partnership as well. So I mean, this is a big ask for such a new partnership, but if you canter around the course like this, then you're going to have an exciting summer.
It's also great to see a younger horse come in here and, not be really fazed by what's around them and really concentrating on the jumps and, not taking too much notice of the crowd, the banners, the different style of jumps, and, what all plays into the atmosphere of a Saturday Night Lights class.
Absolutely, and during the summer, depending where you go, you don't really get to see a lot of under the lights classes anymore. So this is also great experience and exposure to see what horse you have underneath you.
Yeah, welcoming Bertram Allen into our ring. He is the 15th to see in tonight's class. He's aboard Kingston. This is a 10-year-old gelding by Utalon out of Ephrata. Bertram having many successes with us here in Wellington this year. Some wins together, also some top placings with Bo Kingston and some of his other mounts this year.
Again, another new partnership. Already looking so nicely put together, though. Jumping beautifully through that oxer and double of verticals. Making easy work of that 4 strides. And Bertram, always a fast rider, never really having to worry about time allowed with him. Just has such a really nice natural feel of all these horses. A lot of these horses jump so well for him. He tries to kind of get out of their way, help them a little bit, and then kind of get out of their way. And here's where we've seen some issues. Jumped beautifully through that double. Time not a factor.
Yeah, Bertram coming home there with a clear round in 75.70, giving us our 4th clear and our 2nd Irish rider to go clear in tonight's 1.50 m finale.
Yeah, he really made light work of that. That was actually very beautifully ridden.
And as you said, a newer mount, but spending their time here with us in Wellington and consistently developing that partnership. And that is a big part of what we do here in Wellington, is you see people come the first week and with a newer mount, a little bit green, and they have that time over the 12 weeks to develop that partnership and, head out wherever they choose to go for the summer and the spring to have that confidence underneath them.
Absolutely. This facility actually makes for a great development of horses or younger horses, especially when you disperse for the summer. Then you get to see what the product was that you kind of developed for these early months.
We now see Team GB rider Samuel Hutton. He is aboard Castellinto PS. This is a 10-year-old gelding by Casalaco out of Chaco's Gladys.
Sam has produced, some great horses through this with Abdel as well. We've definitely seen them actually coming more and more frequently down to Wellington these past couple years, really making this a big stop for their early on in their season. They've brought some really, really great horses. Jumps beautifully over that oxer, same through that four stride.
The two of them also part of the Major League circuit last year. So definitely showing that they're spending more time in North America and, choosing to jump the 5-star levels that we have here and choose to jump against the competitors that we have here over in America.
Exactly. Got away with a light rub at the A element, that orange oxer coming in, but got away with it. And just like what you said, it's really exciting actually for us to be over here. Many years ago, we would always have to travel over to Europe to compete against some of these great European riders. Now we're seeing them kind of traveling back over here to us. So that's kind of exciting just to prove that, the American system is really developing nicely.
Yeah, Samuel Houghton giving us our 5th clear in today's class out of our 16 that we've seen so far. So joining some of our 4 other clears that we've seen. Easy work there, cruise across the whole course like no problem.
Absolutely. It looked a little bit like an equitation, I guess, if we would talk about the American system, a little equitation style of riding.
And also choosing to go with no martingale, which is something we don't see that common in a jumper ring, especially to this caliber.
Yeah, absolutely not at all. It's just interesting to take into account, like you were pointing out, some of the differences of tack, some hackamores, hackabits, full bridles.
Next in, we welcome Stella Wasserman. She is aboard Ilas. This is a 17-year-old stallion by Emerald out of Eclipse.
Yeah, this horse no stranger as well here. We've seen it under the likes of McLean Ward. He competed with this horse a couple years back. Before that, Annabelle Revers as well. So it's nice for, especially a younger rider, I guess, to come into the ring with a horse that's been there, done that a little bit. You can kind of trust the partnership and just miscalculated. Same thing like we were talking about, landed so shallow off that big oxer, that fan oxer. The horses don't quite get their eye on that skinny. It's really skinny. It's kind of in the middle of the ring, and the poles are so hard to see. And it just looked like for that one stride, you only have 4 strides to adjust. And for that one stride landing after, didn't quite move up in the 4 strides and just miscalculated.
And as you spoke about earlier, having that white plank at the bottom of 7, we kind of talk a lot about what the horses see in the ring and what catches their eye. A common thing that people talk about is the white. Like the white sticks out to horses. So having that bottom plank as white, you're nearly taking the horse's attention away from the blue poles and gravitating towards the plank at the bottom.
Absolutely. Looking at that white plank right before that, the fan base jump. So they're looking down already. They're now looking down again. They're trying to kind of figure out where they're supposed to take off from. And again, that's no, accident created by Andy.
Our 18th to go in tonight's class will be Catherine Passamore. She is aboard Freedom de SMB. This is a 14-year-old gelding by Ogano City out of Olea della Ricci.
Catherine has a long-term partnership with this horse as well. Again, we see the no martingale coming in. Just runs her a little bit underneath fence 3. This is a really powerful, really strong horse. She kind of changes up her bridles and bits and hackamores every now and then as well, just so he doesn't get kind of used to it and then dragging her a little bit further. But they've had so much great success. Catherine also makes her summer base over in Europe. She's kind of, while she's still a younger rider, I think, she's definitely always also been there, done that, represented a lot of teams, developed a ton of great horses. Really takes her time developing the horses. Had a great jump at that triple bar. Really has to steady. We know this horse gets a little bit strong. A really short double. Jumped that beautiful. No, that was really a shame.
Yeah, just unlucky that a vertical at 3 coming down there for Catherine Passmore. Just giving her the 4 faults in 74.60. As you were saying, riding in a Hackmore with no martingale on, it's something we see different riders testing bits, testing bridle, testing tack. It is something that, is a huge part of our sport, and it's something that riders have to consider. That you ride with a certain bridle warming up, and you might have to change it going into the ring. You might have to have a different bridle going into a grass ring compared to a sand ring. So it is a huge part of our sport, and it's a very big learning curve for younger riders to develop and understand that.
Absolutely, and it's always exciting and fun to see what they switch to. For her, jumping at home, she jumps a little bit more in a bit and then switches to the hackamore for the ring. Others jump in a hackamore at home, switch to a bit for the ring. So just about getting to know your horse.
Our 19 to go in today's class will be Katie Dinan. She is aboard Akita de Hoffen-Vents. This is a 15-year-old mare by Rock and Roll Sami out of Kitty.
Yeah, Katie's also had a long-term partnership with this horse as well. Katie's been really on fire for this circuit as well in some of these bigger classes, 4 stars and 5 stars with that other newer mount of hers. But as well, we've talked to her a bunch. She splits her time back and forth from New York, going to school there. So she's just rolled up the top pole and as well as the skinny from the 4 stride. Looked like the horse just got a little bit at each fence. But again, that's kind of going uphill. Hard not to push at that, and the horses it's hard pressed for them not to also run at that front rail. But again, for Katie to kind of split her time, she travels down from New York like Thursdays and then gets to ride for the weekend and then has to go right back up. So, that's really tough mentally as well as physically to kind of get back into the ring and adjust. And also to compete in such big classes like these 4 and 5 stars.
Yeah, Katie just coming home with the 8 jumping falls in 76.68. But as he said, having a very successful season so far with some of her other mounts as well as this horse that we saw tonight. And a big testament to her to be able to go to school, Monday through Thursday and come down and be able to walk into a 5-star and jump those spectacular rounds that we've seen from her this season.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Next in, we welcome 21st in the world. Abdel Said comes into our ring tonight. He is aboard Quakers Brimbals Z. This is a 10-year-old gelding by Quicksilver Saint-Samon out of Ascuda de Pas.
Another newer mount, I think, for Abdel as well. We've seen him kind of come in and out of Wellington also. Earlier we saw Samuel jump beautiful clear. This is a beautifully big horse. Really puts a lot of effort into the jump. Super scopy. It's definitely the first test. We've seen some issues with this 4 stride. Not a problem.
We've seen Abdel spend some time over in the Middle East, picking up some 5-star wins over there. Really a testament to the quality of horses that him and Sam both have to be able to, leave some horses there and come over to us here in Wellington and put in the good rounds with some of these horses.
Absolutely. And, these riders are now jet setters. There's cross-continent even. It's amazing, their schedules. We did see that front rail come down of that Liverpool Oxer, as well as that B element. The horse just has such a big stride. It's such a big horse. It is a little bit hard for him to sometimes, I think, make that little bit of room at those front rails.
Yeah, finishing up there on the 8 jumping falls in 76.31. Time allowed is set at 77 seconds. Hasn't been an issue so far in the class.
No, and usually, jumping in Wellington, you always have to think that time allowed is going to be a factor. But, these horse riders, I should say these riders, are so very well aware of that quick time allowed that they're so used to that But maybe Andy didn't even need that time allowed to make a difficult course.
It's definitely an extra element course designers bring into a round and to a class to, cause a little bit more of a problem. Andy seems to have a very even feel so far. We have those 5 clears and pretty much jumps coming down left, right, and center. So very unique course, really, bringing out the best in everybody.
Absolutely. Mark of a good course designer.
For sure. Ken Farrington comes into our ring now. He is aboard Grass to Mars. This is a 9-year-old mare by Windows Vatten Kursenhof out of Tuxina de Mars.
Kent has had a stellar season, putting it lightly. Already won was 4 5 stars with Greya, and already racked up a few wins with this horse as well. Just taking out that B element. Looks like that one stride just got a little bit quick. Through the out of the one stride verticals. Had to move up a tiny bit in the 4, but again, this horse is 9. We tend to see Kent on some of those smaller, quicker horses. This is a quick horse, but it's a much bigger horse than we're kind of used to seeing, especially in the likes of Mila, whom he jumped the other day. But definitely an exciting one to watch.
It really is a testament to Kent's program. He's had several 5-star wins and other wins with different mounts. So, bringing up a 9-year-old like this horse. So, growing his string. Of course, he has Greya, Tulane, and all the other good horses that he has. But being able to develop those horses and bring them in under the lights and give them some experience.
Absolutely. And remember, he was just in Ocala not a day ago. So, trying to balance out not just his transportation and getting to and from places, but also the horses, who's going to keep those horses fit and in shape. Clearly just defines the people that he has around him, his management program and his style, and he just has such top-notch care that he has no problems with that.
Which is really great to see that, he has those people on the ground. Plenty of people talk about the riders and having your different horses, but it really is, the people on the ground that are looking after them, who's constantly with them while Kent flies from show to show. Those people on the ground that keep the horses fit and healthy and, ready to walk into a 5-star.
Absolutely. It's all about your team.
Next in our 20 seconds to go will be Natalie Leibowitz. She is aboard Kiss Me. This is a 10-year-old gelding by Cornell Blensky out of Gluckseller HB. These two putting in some consistent results together over season so far. During WEF 7, they were clear and finished 12th in the 5-star 1 m 40.
Yep, we definitely seen them have some good placings as well in Tryon. Natalie also no stranger to this Wellington circuit. Had to make a quick adjustment for that 5, but actually got away with it really nicely. Big effort over that Liverpool. Had a rub on that back rail, but it stayed up. Really has to steady in that 7 stride. So far, this plank has not really proven much of an issue. Having to just kind of keep rolling for the time allowed sake to that triple bar. Now this is where you get a little steady. Just toes the back pole down there from that B element. And again, jumping an oxer uphill. The horse tried so hard up front, maybe didn't quite finish behind. But again, you can see the width of that oxer as well.
Yeah, Natalie just finishing up there on the 4 jumping faults, as well as 4 time faults in 80.71. As we talked about, a little bit of an uphill coming to this double, so just a little bit more pressure than people, you'd look onto it.
Absolutely. It's going uphill, and it's a really short distance in between, so the horse is having to jump off such a short stride and then having to put so much maximum effort to cover the width.
Next in, we welcome Alexandra Worlington. She is aboard De La Roserie. This is a 12-year-old gelding by Capital de Organ out of Miss Flight.
This is definitely actually one to watch too.
Yeah, they've had several placings throughout season, picking up some wins in Terranova. Always a fast combination.
Absolutely. And, you know, they've been together for a few years now, so they definitely know each other. Big effort over that Liverpool. The horse just kind of seemed to study and hold back. But again, attributing to this partnership, Allie knows this horse so well. This horse tries so hard for her. Not always the most conventional, but she gets it done. Really has to move forward down that 4 strides, but recognized it early. Had a peek down at that Liverpool and just kind of took out that front rail. Horse just looked like it peeked down a little bit, just didn't quite get up and around that top front rail. Really steady 7. Now coming into a really steady double, really has to hold. Not a problem.
Just finishing up there on the 4 jumping faults in 73.32. That brain water oxer at 8 coming down. It is something that, you know, I thought would cause more of an issue. You have the plants, you have the water tray. We've also filled the water trays at both sides of the jump, as well as the water tray in the oxer with water. There's an extra glare off it because of the lights, but really horses aren't, you know, it's not causing too much of an issue.
No, absolutely. And, you know, just like what you talked about, the design around both sides, you're kind of creating a little bit of a channel for the horse to jump in and through. But so far, really not a big issue.
Just 2 more remaining before our first drag break in today's class. The first of those 2 will be Natalie Dean. Natalie is aboard Oasis of Van den Bucktail. This is an 11-year-old mare by Quinn van de Hefnink out of Asara van de Murenhof.
Nat's had some great placings. She's had a great circuit so far. Still not over, though, with some of her top horses. So definitely seen some podium placings. Obviously, we have to mention the gold medal for the all-female USA team during the Nations Cup event. She was a strong contributing rider to that score. She has such a great string of horses around her that she can always kind of interchange them and always keep jumping, keeping herself in the ring. And that's the most important thing for these riders, getting experience, getting mileage. You know, she's still a younger rider, but she has so much mileage just with the amount of horses that she can keep jumping day in and day out.
Yeah, it's really testament to her program. I know training with Ben Mayer now, so just having that program with the good horses that she can rotate them out and constantly keeping herself in the ring, as you said, but making sure her horses have that break and aren't consistently jumping week in, week out.
Absolutely, yeah, exactly. And she can kind of hone her skills. I mean, like, it's down to the final minute details of when to hold the horse, when to let it go, where to take off from, and you can just obviously see that in the clear round.
Yeah, Natalie giving us our 6th clear in tonight's $150,000 Hermès CSI 4-star series finale here in Wellington International. We just have 1 remaining in the first half of today's class before we will do a touch above the surface before we return for the remaining 25. Our last to go before the drag break will be Caitlin Boyle. She is aboard Prani van de Meckenhof. This is a 10-year-old mare by Thunder van Zoenhof out of Dulina.
Caitlin, always a very consistent rider in some of these FEI events. Very fast rider as well. Super competitive. We've seen this horse. This is a little bit of a newer partnership for her as well.
As you said, a newer partnership, but already with some top wins. They were the winners of a 2-star 1m 40 in Ocala earlier in February. Also picking up a win earlier this month in a 3-star 1m 50 Grand Prix qualifier up there.
Absolutely. Really steadies to that double of verticals. Definitely not to be understated. opting for the 5. You know, maybe we'll see that a little bit, some of these riders to come. Maybe they saw some of those first riders struggle a little bit with that 4 stride, having such that big oxer, big effort. Giving a little cluck over that A element, just got a little bit deep. Horse jumped great up and over it though. And she's such a fast rider, she never really has to worry about the time allowed.
You can see her really cruising throughout the whole round.
Ooh, came in a little bit hot to that double. Just looked like the 7 got a little away from her, and she really had to force the 7 to kind of go into that A and B element, and just had that B, top rail of that B element just got a little bit deep and underneath it. That was too bad.
Yeah, just coming home there with the 4 jumping in 75.19. As you can see, just coming back to the double, just a little bit too much momentum coming in there. And as you said, all night it's been such a short double, so it's really something people have been having to back off.
Absolutely. That was really too bad because the rest of the ride was beautiful.
So just doing a quick touch-up of the surface before we come back for the remaining 25 in today's Hermès 1m50 series finale here in Wellington. We have jumped in this 1m50 Classic Series over the last 10 weeks, and we're finishing out here for week 11. So we are on those 6 clear so far. First of those was Zoe Contour, our first into today's class. So kind of created a false sense of security in a way. First in, first clear. Richie Maloney also clear, Mara Delorier, Bert Chamalin, Samuela Hutton, and Nally Dean that we just saw. So 6 clears. We still have those 25 remaining for the end, the second half of today's class. We are going to do a quick break here. So while we do a quick touch-up of the surfaces, we're going to take a quick break on the live stream, and we'll be back in about 10 minutes for the remaining of our Hermès 1m50 series finale.
The cowboy hustle is physically demanding. No doubt you gotta be tough. But even more important is your mental fitness. Your brain has to be firing on all cylinders to perform, to be clear, to concentrate, and to focus. I'm a father, a cowboy, a businessman, and a musician, and so much more. I drink Brain Java House Brew, packed with the brain power blend of essential vitamins and minerals my brain needs every day to get it done. Low in natural sugar, low in calories, low in carbohydrates, and low in sodium. It's a great natural and healthy alternative to energy drinks. Brain Java. Be mindful, be present, turn on your brain.
Welcome back to Wellington International. My name is Ellen Sweetnam, and I'm here today with Ali Wolf. Thank you, Ali, for joining me.
Always a pleasure.
We have seen 25 so far in our Hermès 1.50 m series finale here in Wellington International. Ahead of our remaining 25 in today's class, we'll take a look at some of our highlights from the first round. So that obstacle at 7 causing many difficulties so far in today's course. We've seen it come down several times. Ali, looking at that and how it walks, was it something that you thought would cause much of an issue?
Yeah, I thought it would be a little bit tricky, but I think it's really the distance. The distance actually walks fine. It's the oxer right before it, where a lot of the horses land so shallow, you have to move up to that skinny. And like we've seen, a lot of problems coming through there, as well as what you counted previously, that orange double, that B element, actually.
Yeah, many fences coming down throughout the whole course. Just a few that we haven't seen come down so far. We haven't seen the vertical at 1, either the oxer at 4. As well as that triple bar at 11, and the final oxer at 13, that Hermès oxer closing out the round. They're about the only jumps we haven't seen come down today, so really a testament to Andy's building of how diverse the course is and how he really, there's not just one particular line that's causing a problem.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially like right at the end, one last fence causing a problem or whatsoever. So it's nice to bookend it with a solid fence that hasn't come down yet. But again, we have the second half of the entire course, or the class left.
Yeah, we do have those 25 remaining. We've seen 25 already, and we have those 6 clear. So interesting to see how the course develops and how our riders approach the second half of today's class. The first of those will be Kathleen Driscoll. She is aboard Casalito. This is a Levero gelding by Casalco out of T. Clisma.
Beautiful jump of the fence, too. She's been working with this horse for a minute now, really working with rideability. It's a big horse, huge scope, just a little bit of a miscalculation at fence number 3. But again, we see kind of a hack more or hack a bit on this horse. So just working on the rideability. This horse can get a little bit strong, but she has great tutelage with Katie Perdon, Katie and Henri. And just rolled off the top bar of that oxer as well as the skinny following it. Again, we've seen that issue come about. A little bit of a strong 4 through that oxer and skinny vertical having issues. Trying to pull it together. Easy 2 stride. Just has that one down as well. The horse just looks like it's a little bit aggressive or a little bit at some of these fences. Makes a huge effort at that triple bar. Really needs to kind of steady now. Jumped beautifully through that really careful double we've seen some issues with. And finish is nice.
Yeah, Kathleen Driscoll finishing there on the 16 jumping falls in 75.39. Something we touched on before the class started was that, a lot of these meter 50 horses wouldn't have had the chance to go under the lights yet. So it is something for them to look at, as you see coming to fence 3 with that water tree underneath the horse, looking down at the water that's in it, the lights having a different effect on jumps than you would see standard throughout the day.
Absolutely, and it just looked like the horse was a little bit surprised last minute at that Liverpool, that number 3 fence. Just did a little bit of a stutter step off the ground.
Second to go after that drag break is Marilyn Little. She is aboard Olympic of Van der Norfendel. This is an Levero gelding by Zabrisi TN out of Arita Van der Noordenhof. These two having a very consistent season with us, winners of a 2-star Grand Prix during WEF 5, placing in 3 of our Hermès 1.50 m Classics throughout the season, including a 3rd place in the 3-star 1.50 m Classic during week 6.
Yeah, Marilyn's had actually a great circuit herself. Her other horse, La Contessa, has had great placings, always top placings. A bit of a newer horse for her here as well. We've seen this horse under Tina Lund and Mark Blumen a little bit as well. But already they've formed such a strong partnership. Marilyn ever the competitor. Getting that 5 done nicely. Little rub on that B element. Stays up. Strong ride at the oxer. Not a problem for the 4. Big effort at that Liverpool. Now just needs to tone it down just a little bit jumping through this. Very patient 7. You know, we see this horse getting a little tiny bit strong, having to wrestle it back in some areas. Maybe needs to take a half halt about now. Great effort through the double. Big gallop to the last. Another clear.
There we go. Our first clear after the drag break. Marilyn Little going clear there in 74.85. So guaranteeing herself in a spot in the jump off today. As you said, someone who's had several successes over season, doing a really good job throughout the course. You could see the horse getting a little bit stronger as the round developed, and doing a very good job of keeping the horse within her hand and leg, and getting that clear round.
Yeah, exactly. And Marilyn has had a ton of horses that are, these hotter, energetic horses. So she's really great at knowing what to do, when to do it, and really keeping a level head about it.
Our third after our drag break will be Amy Miller. She is aboard Jelvina MB. This is an 11-year-old mare by Cannon out of Elvina MB.
Yeah, this is definitely a hotter horse. And we just saw, actually it fell quite late, the front rail of fence number 2. But again, a younger horse. She's had this one for about a year. She's really excited about this one. And again, she's also had quite a good circuit as well, bringing along some of her kind of second or third string, if you will, horses, giving her top horse a little bit of a break. Not a problem in that 4 strides. Good effort over that Liverpool. Beautiful style of jumping through that 2 stride as well. And again, we really haven't seen much of that plank have an issue. Really needs to slow it down for this double here. Very steady. Gets away with a hard rub at A, but then the B element, the front rail, comes down.
Amy finishing up there on the 8 jumping faults in 74.94. And as you said, Amy bringing up some younger horses and less experienced horses into the field.
Yeah, Emmy does a great job with the development of horses. Horses just love her. They love to jump well for her. She's just a great person also, as well, and really just takes good care of her horses, loves her. She has a great team around her, speaking of that team, and great sponsors as well.
Yeah, and we spoke about how last week it was our young jumper finals here in Wellington International, but also a testament to what we have here and being able to, bring a meter 40 horse or a less experienced horse into these rings and develop them up to that meter 50 level, while also being in the same facility as jumping your 5-star horse. So it gives those, top riders that chance to develop their string underneath them while also continuing to jump at that high level.
Absolutely.
Currently in the ring is Rupert Call Winkleman. He is aboard Amano.
Yeah, just took a peek down at that cast oxer, just like what we were talking about. The planks come together to form the cast logo. And the horse just looked like it wanted to study, look down a little bit, and then just lost the power to jump both across the front rail and back rail. Definitely this horse is taking a second look at some of these fences. Really, really studying them. Rupert's doing a great job of really giving it a strong, confident ride. Made a great effort over that Liverpool. And again, this is a newer horse for him as well. So getting to know this horse under the lights, that could be two separate feelings of horses. And now he just kind of wants to bring it home with confidence.
Yeah, Rupert and his mount picking up some placings during the season, but as you said, not under the lights during our daytime here during classes. So it's a totally different ball game when you're under the lights here. Absolutely.
And this horse really jumps beautifully. It just wants to kind of get a little bit of support from him, and I think he delivered that really nicely. Other than that, it was a beautiful round, especially for recovery.
Yeah, just 4 faults there, and picking up a time fault as well in 77.33. But as you said, great recovery after having that fence down, which is very important with rounds like this, and gaining that experience with a horse. That if you have a little bit of a hiccup, to continue on and keep that confidence underneath your horse, and give them that confidence to keep going and develop throughout the round.
Absolutely, especially it's never a fun feeling to jump a fence like that, and especially for the horse to keep going through some of the trickiest or toughest parts of the course with no problem at all. And I think you'd come out of that a more solid horse-rider combination.
Hoping to be the third Irish rider to return to our jump-off is Connor as well. He is aboard one edition. This is a 10-year-old mare by Otangelo out of One Nora. As we spoke previously, Connor spending some of his winter months over in California. These two already picking up a win in a 3-star Grand Prix in California. Also placing in a 3-star welcome stake over there.
Yeah, and again, a newer addition to his string. Definitely seen it under, he gives tutelage to Vanessa Mannix, so we've seen it under Vanessa a little bit, as well as James Chalk. They have a great partnership going as well, kind of supporting each other from near and far. She's out west as well. And again, Connor just having a great string of horses to call upon. He has so many nice top horses that he can kind of cycle through, and as well as kind of spread them across the U.S., I guess across the world too. Just barely rolling that B element. We've definitely seen that becoming a little bit more of an issue. I think he opted for that 6 strides to flow down to that plank. Really steadies up for this double. So a lot of the riders, I'm probably sure, have been watching how tricky it is to jump through that double. And finishes strong.
Yeah, Connor just coming home there with the 4 faults in 76.55. Looking at that part B of 9, coming down for the 6th time in tonight's class. It's also that vertical at 7 has come down 6 times, so equivalent to the amount of times both those verticals have come down in tonight's class.
Huh.
Fun fact.
I always love those too, because they're placed in such different positions. They're completely different fences. So it's always just interesting to kind of pick that apart.
Yeah, but what we've noticed from Andy's building is, many jumps coming down that part B of 12, coming down over 5 times. The part A of 12 coming down over 4 times. That Oxford 8 coming down 5 times so far. And that Hermès vertical at 3 causing an issue as well. So really a diverse field of, building that Andy has done, and has caused issues everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely.
Back-to-back Irish riders, Jordan Coyle, we welcome him into the ring with his mount of 4 gold. This is a 14-year-old gelding by For Fashion out of S. Herlanda. These two always a fast combination. If they make it into the jump-off, definitely one to watch. Putting in several top placings already this season together.
Absolutely, and they've racked up some big major wins too, including down here last year. They have actually a 53% statistical performance out of 150. So just some fun, going back to some of our stats, fun thing to keep in the back of your head. It is quite a smaller horse, but it has so much heart and so much step and stride that it really just gives such effort.
Its stride is deceivingly big.
Yep. We'll see our next clear.
There we go. Jordan Cole going clear in 73.92. So giving us our second clear after that drag break, and definitely one to watch in the jump off, as we said. Deceivingly a large stride for such a small horse. I feel every time I watch it in a jump off, I don't think it's actually going that fast, and it's eating ground as it goes around.
Absolutely, and Jordan always gets the maximum out of these horses.
Jordan giving us our 8th clear and our 3rd Irish rider to go clear in tonight's class. Our 32nd to go will be Jessica Springsteen. She is aboard Naomi van de Heffenach. This is a 12-year-old mare by Cornetto 933 out of Beneth. These two, another fast combination, several wins already this season. During WEF 7, they were the winners of the 2-star Grand Prix qualifier and finished 4th in that 2-star Grand Prix. Also, at the start of February in Ocala, they were the winners of a 4-star Grand Prix qualifier.
Yeah, she's definitely had this horse for a while, since it's been a young horse, actually. So it's really fun to see the development from these young horse classes. They've really come together nicely. Great forming of a partnership. We've seen this horse actually a little bit under Lorenzo as well. But Jessie racking up a ton of wins, a lot of successes, both on the East Coast and the West Coast. Again, another quick horse, especially thinking about if getting into the jump off. Giving a really strong ride to that oxer. A little bit of a rub over that skinny. She's really having to ride hard at some of these fences. You know, the horse just really studying some of these fences, but also gaining confidence from that type of a pace. Really having to fight to get that 7 back. You know, she's definitely having to work hard to fight for this potential clear round. Now having to take it easy. Just looked like it studied it. It kind of stuttered as it came out of that double, towing that back rail. Be interesting to see what it maybe looked at as it left the ground.
Yeah, Jessica Springsteen finished there on the 4 jumping falls there in 74.98. Just watching that replay coming back into that double.
Just looked like it maybe misjudged the back rail. It was just focused so much on that front rail. I thought she actually gave it a great ride into the end of the combination.
And as you said, you know, a seasoned partnership. These two have several wins both on this side and in Europe on the other side of the Atlantic. But, you know, we spoke about it earlier. There's not that many venues in the US that jump under the lights. So for a very seasoned partnership with those several wins, they mightn't have been under the lights that often.
Exactly. Big factor.
Our 34th to go in, or 33rd, sorry, to go in today's class will be Abigail McCardle. She is aboard Olympia van den Eckenoff. This is a 10-year-old mare by Elvis Derpoot out of Kayana van den Eckenoff. These two having a successful season with us was a partner, or these partnerships competed with us pre-season here, picking up some wins during the Holiday and Horses series. They were 3rd in a 3-star Grand Prix qualifier, also placing at that 4-star level. Picking up some results during WEF 4, they were 6th in the 4-star WEF Challenge Cup. And also during WEF 9, 3rd in the Grand Prix qualifier, as well as 2nd in that Grand Prix qualifier, or Grand Prix, sorry.
Yeah, just talking to her, like, she's so excited about this horse, and, you know, tracking her partnership ever since the pre-circuit, and last year she stayed here during the summer. Really got some mileage on this horse, and then came back into circuit really strong, and then kind of slowly moving up the FEI star levels. Again, she's super excited about this horse. Really marched down the 6, has a big stride. Big effort, but a big rub on that back bar of the triple bar. Maybe helped her out for that one stride there. Big push for the last, and oh, heartbreak.
Just over that time allowed. Just finishing up with that one time fault there in 77.70. As I said, time allowed is set at that 770 seconds. You can just see the heartbreak on her face.
But how excited that she is, too. Huge smile. She knows how exciting this was. You know, I don't think this horse has really jumped many under the light classes as well.
But as you said, it's been really nice to see them develop.
Exactly.
We had the joy of commentating, you know, pre-season and seeing them come, you know, at the start of season coming into the stadium. So it's really nice to see how the horse and their partnership have developed.
Yeah, absolutely. Just like what you said when we commentated pre-circuit, you know, we got to watch all these horses, see how these horse and rider combinations kind of picked and choose their classes for these horses and the culmination of that.
Yeah, for sure. Currently in the ring is Ireland's Michael Duffy. He is aboard RMF Clinton Sun. This is a 13-year-old stallion by Clinton out of Angel of Me. Michael, another one of our European-based riders that choose to come and spend his winter with us here in Wellington. These two picking up some top results already, including in the 1m50 classics. During week 7, they were 5th in the 5-star 1m50 classic.
Michael Duffy also part of the Irish team during the Nations Cup jumping. We also saw this horse previously ridden under Jesse Springsteen, who we just saw. Hard rub at that back rail, but it stayed in place. You know, this is a scopy horse, but a little bit of a slower mover. So he's always having to kind of create that energy underneath the horse. And okay, the time allowed is not terrible tonight, but, you know, always having to think about moving along, moving forward through the course. Might see our next clear.
There we go, Michael Duffy giving us a clear in 75.41. So giving us our 9th clear in tonight's class. We have those 9 clears, 4 from Ireland, 1 for Canada, 1 for Team GB, 1 for Belgium, and 2 for the United States. Still with 16 left to go in the first round of this $150,000 Hermès 1m50 season finale here in Wellington International. Our 35th to go will be Charlotte Jacobs. Charlotte is aboard Corbash of Van der Rengar. This is a 10-year-old gelding by Colostris out of Warren. As we spoke about with Natalie Dean earlier, Charlotte also part of that winning Nations Cup team here in Wellington a couple of weeks ago. Put in a beautiful double clear round jumping.
She solidified the gold for the team. That was a great class to watch. Again, an all-female team. And again, this is a newer horse for her as well.
Yeah, I believe she got Corby halfway through season and have really clicked together. I think their first week showing, they were, you know, placing clear rounds. And just talking to Charlotte, she's so excited about their relationship together and how they can grow and learn.
Absolutely, and to like to what you said, just to partner in the middle of circuit and to be jumping the 150 final under the lights. You know, this horse gives such a beautifully good effort, so much spring in its step, and she clearly has partnered with it, or clicked with it really quickly, because she opted for the 6 strides, landing quite shallow after the oxer into the double of verticals. So it just goes to kind of show you as well, always having to think on your feet. Things don't always ride or go the way that you originally planned for them to. So you always kind of have to be adjusting, thinking ahead as a rider.
Yeah, and Charlotte, one of those riders with very, very good stock underneath her, has a really nice field of horses and, you know, gives her that opportunity to consistently be in the ring while also giving her horses some bit of a break throughout season.
Exactly. And she jumped beautifully through that double.
There we go, Charlotte Jacobs giving us our 10th clear in today's class, our final of our Hermès 1m50 season finale here in Wellington.
Beautiful effort over that Liverpool. Huge effort over that double combination as well. That's a really fun combination to watch.
A pleasure to watch. You nearly just want to sit back and just watch them all day, every day. Next in, we welcome Alex Matz. He is aboard Cashew CR. This is a 17-year-old gelding by Cassini II out of Udana. These two together were the winners of the 5-star Centennial Cup and a speed at the Royal in Toronto in November of last year. Also picking up some top placings during the winter months. They were second in a 4-star 1m50 in Ocala in the start of March.
You know, we talk so much about all these younger horses, these up-and-coming, newer partnerships. So it's really exciting to always see kind of that older partnership. A little bit of an older horse at this point, but Alex knows this horse so well. They've had so much success together. And, Alex has a few kind of newer horses to cycle through as well, so kind of giving this one an opportunity to step down a little bit, be really competitive. And this horse is extremely competitive, very fast.
And as you said, a little bit of an older horse. It really shows how great, Alex's operation is, and the Mats, they're programmed to have a 17-year-old horse that still is jumping at this level and, still is putting in some top results.
Absolutely, and it's always so exciting too. They know each other so well. It's always so fun to watch a partnership like that, where they just kind of cruise around, and hopefully you're having so much. They look like they're having so much fun. Steady for that one. Gets away with maybe a little light rev on that A element. And he's definitely going to be one to watch in the jump off.
There we go, giving us our 11th clear. Alex Mats goes clear on Cashew CR. So very exciting lineup. So far we have our 11 clears. Very fast clears. Also, looking at that lineup ahead of us for that jump off, it's, full of people that are very, very fast riders. And, it's hard to pick one rider to, say that they're the fastest that we might see in the jump off.
This is going to be hard, yes.
Which will be a very exciting jump
Very
off.
exciting.
So good for us as viewers to watch it.
Absolutely.
Next in, we welcome the USA's Lacey Gilbertson. Lacey is aboard Hollywood. This is a 13-year-old mare by Neab de Revie out of Diva. A long-term partnership for Lacey. During the summer last year, they were the winners of a 3-star Grand Prix in Traverse City, picking up some top placings in Kentucky also. Their WEF season so far have been super successful. During week 4, they were 9th in the 4-star 1m50 Classic. And then during week 10 in a 4-star, just picking up a few time faults, but clear jumping for these two.
Exactly, like you said, another longer-term partnership. Jumping some of these, just lightly touch that fence number 3, that Liverpool orange vertical. Maybe shift it a tiny bit over top. But another very fast combination. And again, jumping some bigger classes and then kind of, maybe stepping down, if you will. Even though this is such a big class as is. Taking the back rail, actually the first time we saw the back rail come down for that fan oxer, and maybe electing to retire. And again, they know each other so well. They have a bright, huge future. They've had so many successful classes and wins. At this point, why waste the horse for a class that already has about 10 clears in it when you can really maybe go win the next one?
Yeah, exactly. Lacey just choosing to retire there. And as you said, we still have another week of season. We don't know her plans. Maybe she has, jumping next week in, the Grand Prix or other classes that she has her eyes set on. So it's, about knowing your horse and knowing that partnership to figure out what is best for them in the night classes like this.
Exactly. That was a smart decision.
We welcome in one of our Olympic combinations to return to us here in Wellington. From the Tokyo Olympics, Niall Nassar returns into our ring with Igor van der Wettenmoor. This is a 17-year-old gelding by Cooper van de Hefnik out of Delia van de Hefnik.
So this might be one of my ones to watch. I know Niall's been knocking at the door. He's been so close so many times in all these classes. He's had so much success already. But I know he is just chomping at the bit.
I think he's bringing Igor out. I think he brought him out the first time last week, maybe, for week 10. Mm-hmm. Jumped yesterday in our WEF Challenge Cup also, so top placings there, was also our first into the class and was our first clear.
Yeah, he's definitely bringing the big guns out for this. But again, also goes to show the depth of his string as well. Having the ability to pick and choose his horses, choosing his top horse, or, well, I guess one of them, to jump in these types of classes just goes to show the level of competition in these classes, the level of sophistication and jumps and prize money for sure.
Yeah, we already saw him win one of our night classes during week 1, I believe, on ESI Alley. So it's nice to see that he's bringing, Eager back into the ring and preparing for next week and really, playing ball with us here in Wellington.
Yeah, exactly. Gets away with a light rub. I think it's still rolling in the cups. Very determined. A light rub at the last fence, too. Gets away with it.
There we go. Niall Nassar giving us our 12th clear in tonight's Hermès finale here in Wellington International. So, one to watch in the first round, definitely one to watch in the jump off. Very fast yesterday, always a fast combination. So the jump off is really building up to be a very, very fast one.
Absolutely. I have no idea who I'm going to pick.
You can just see him looking back as he goes through the finishes of the last officer, making
Big
sure they give the the clear round. Our 39 to go in today's class, and our first of 11 will be Nicole Walker. She is aboard Atut de Trambels. This is a 15-year-old gelding by Nectar de Forte out of Jasper de la Grange.
Yeah, Nikki's been partnered with this horse for a few years now, actually, so strong partnership. Nikki does a great job of developing these horses as well. Big jump in there. Just nicely patient in the one stride. We also saw her have some success in Ocala not too long ago, a couple weeks ago actually, to be specific, especially with this horse. Took a 4th place in the 145.
I think also something we touched on earlier with, some of these young horses, or some of these horses we've seen jump at the Young Horse Championships in Lanaken. This horse being one of those, finished 9th overall in the 7-year-olds back in 2017. So it is nice to see that those horses that are placing at that top level as a young horse to develop into, be able to come into a 150 like this.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is, top class jumping. We actually just saw the plank come down. It looks like she got just a tiny bit deep and misjudged that, as well as the front rail of that B element that we've seen causing issues.
Yeah, just coming home there on the 8 jumping faults, just inside that time allowed, finishing there in 76.73. And as I said, that time allowed is set at that 77 seconds. Only the second time we've seen that plank come down tonight. Walking the course, it probably was something that riders looked at and thought it would cause more of an issue than it has been.
Yeah, absolutely. You see plank, you think upside down cups. Mm-hmm. All it takes is just a whisper over it. That was too bad, though. I think, and I'm also surprised too, because planks are notorious for just counting on those fences as a fault. But I think the riders have figured that out for the most part.
Next in, we welcome another West Coast rider returning to us here in Wellington. This is Carl Cook on Caracol de la Roque. This is a 13-year-old mare by Zador out of Pashuda de Armory.
Yeah, this is definitely another one to watch. I mean, an incredibly fast combination. So fast.
So fast. Every single time.
His Olympic mount. It's nice, again, like we were talking about, some riders kind of bumping their horses down into this 150 division, just giving them kind of a nice class to canter around. I would say doing the same in this situation. Maybe this is a warm-up for his next week.
Yeah, you would think he probably is gearing towards that Rolex Grand Prix next week. So just giving, her some time in the ring under the lights, getting, acclimated to the ring. So next week they're ready to go.
Absolutely. I'm just kind of playing over these fences. Giving a great effort over that triple bar. A little bit touch and go to that double. Has a light rub at the B element.
There we go, another clear around there. Carl Cook giving us our 13th clear, in today's $150,000 Hermès Series finale here in Wellington. That mare making it look easy, like always. I feel you could
So
watch her in a
easy,
5-star
exactly.
Grand Prix and she still makes it look easy.
Exactly. You know, I always ask Carl, like, what is the feeling? What is it like riding her? And he's like 50% terrifying and 50% exhilarating.
That's fair enough. I can see that. So Carl Cook giving us our 13 to clear with our 9 remaining. The first of those will be Mark Blumen. He is aboard Del Mar. This is a 9-year-old gelding. Alon Blumen listed as the ownership of Mark's mount today. This is a previous mount of Daniel Blumen, part of that Blumen Equestrian group, all of them working together and developing those horses together. These two already picking up some top results during the WEF season. During WEF 9, they were 8th in a 5-star, 1.45 m. Also picking up some top results in Ocala during the month of February.
Exactly. A big, scopy horse. Beautiful jumping horse. Again, just like what you touched on, going through some of the brothers and the cousins. We saw Daniel, Alon, and Mark all compete successfully on this horse. Always fun to kind of have a family participation. And Mark, a very fast rider. Okay, this horse is a little bit slower across the ground. But Marky knows kind of how to keep those turns a little bit neater. Opting for that 6 stride.
Another one of our very versatile riders can get on any style of horse and figure them out fairly quickly to go around big tracks.
I think it opts for the 6 there as well. A little bit aware of the time. We might pick up the time fault.
Yeah. Mark Blumen going clear over the jumps. Just picking up those 2 time faults there in 78.14. But as you said, as the round progressed, a little bit of a slower mover for Mark. You know, there's not also that many areas that you can cut your corners. You know, Andy's very built it in a way that you have to keep your pace up, and there's not that many moments where you can cut corners and take a little bit off the time.
Exactly, and he also left out a few strides in some of those places. So, you know, the horse spent so much time in the air as well. Just something to kind of keep working on, and for sure he will.
Next in, we welcome one of our younger competitors into the ring. This is Ansgar Holsker Jr. He is aboard a Chapaloon. This is a 15-year-old gelding by Choco Blue out of Wasira. Ansky having a very successful season with us, particularly in the under 25 series. During a WEF 3, these guys were 3rd in the under 25 1.40 m. Also during week 4, they were part of the winning team of the under 25 team competition together.
Ansky also having a nice depth to his string. Kind of being able to utilize the U25 division, which is just a fantastic division for these younger riders to kind of step into, be a little bit competitive, and then use this as a stepping stool up into these bigger FEI level competitions.
Yeah, for sure. As you said, you know, the under 25 series is a great asset that we have here in Wellington. They get to jump under the lights, but a lot of those kids, you know, it's their first introduction to jumping under the lights, which is, you know, a good experience for them to have that and grow throughout the weeks here in Wellington.
Absolutely, and just like with this horse, you know, jumping under the team competition, give yourself a feeling of that team camaraderie, team atmosphere, where you're not just jumping for yourself anymore. And we see this plank coming down. And again, that B element oxer, just for those bigger horses, it's just such a short striding to kind of push up and stretch over that oxer.
Yeah, Ansky just coming home there with the 8 jumping faults in 75.95. And just looking at that double, as you said, it's a slight uphill, so you need to have pace underneath you, but it's quite short. So it's nearly about having pace underneath you, but having a connection at the same time.
Yes, absolutely. And, you know, a vertical coming in, so they kind of want to slow down and rock back as is and then kind of power through the double. But there's not a lot of room to kind of push up and power. So they really have to rely on scope to get across that back rail.
Our first of 7 remaining in today's season finale of the Hermès 1.50 m. It is Gabriel de Matos Marchado. He is aboard a Donor. This is a 15-year-old gelding by Thunder van Zutenhof out of Bresina.
Yeah, we've seen this partnership actually for many years under Peter Leone. So a newer acquired partnership within probably past year.
I believe they jumped some of the end of Major League Circuit together. So jumped at that 5-star level in Monterey.
You know, Donner, very expressive in his jumps. Really kind of folds himself inside out over them. And then always just a little bit wary of that time allowed. Big effort. Just got a little bit deep to the in of that 4th stride. That oxer rolled off that top hole. A little bit there, but gets away with the front rail rub. And again, needs to be a tiny bit mindful of that time allowed. Same thing there. The horse just kind of drug him a little bit past that distance into that A element, that oxer.
As we spoke about earlier, the extra caliber of what we have here in Wellington is all those poles are so light, so one tip and they could come down.
Absolutely. It takes nothing to knock them over. And you know, this horse is so powerful that the last stride of his wants to be the biggest stride, and he just kind of takes you just a tiny bit past that distance.
Yeah, just finishing up there on the 8 jumping falls and 3 time falls, finishing there in 79.70. But as you said, the last stride wants to be the most powerful, wants to be, really attack that jump. So it is about developing that relationship together and figuring out how that works best for them.
Exactly, and maybe the timing of that last stride.
Next in, we welcome another one of our Irish riders that are based here in the US. This is Conor Regan. He is aboard Manchester. This is a 13-year-old gelding by Kodam Durval out of Chelsea. These two already having a successful season with us during a WEF 3. They were double clear in a 2-star 1m40, also winning the 2-star Grand Prix qualifier that week.
Yeah, Connor's had a longer partnership, I guess, with this horse. Knows this horse quite well now. He rides this type of horse quite well. Those kind of smaller, quicker horses across the ground. I'm surprised we actually have not seen much issue with this oxer here. Opts for the 5 strides into the double of verticals.
And also the double of verticals not causing much of an issue as you would anticipate.
Exactly. Especially where it's placed.
Do you think it is the case that people are over anticipating it, so they, that's why they're a little bit more successful for the obstacles that they're not as anxious about? They're the ones that are coming down.
Yeah, I think so. And I think Andy was a little bit nice in giving them an option for kind of the distance of the 5 stride. Most are doing 5, but we've seen the courses set where it's a little bit longer in the 5, so you really have to choose right away whether you should do the 5 or the 6. So just so early on in the course, I think he just made it a little bit nicer for 5 strides. We just saw a few poles coming down, that Liverpool oxer, this A element as well. Just the horse, I think, getting a little bit quick and at the fences. We also saw the B element of that orange oxer coming down.
Yeah, Connor just finishing up there on the 20 jumping in 76.18, so just inside that time limit of 77 seconds. But as we've talked about over and over again, these horses very successful during the day, not so many of them jumping at night. So it is a different ball game at night under the lights with the bright lights that we have here, the ring wall, like all those extra bits that we have here in Wellington.
Yeah, absolutely. And on the reverse side of that, if these horses have been jumping quite consistently in this ring, seeing these fences, maybe they're just not as keen to pay as much attention.
Next in, we welcome Anna Dryden. She is aboard Knight van der Korkenhoek. This is a 12-year-old stallion by Gilbert van der Rosenhof out of Erie van der Korkenhoek. These two already having a successful season together here in Wellington. During WEF 3, they just picked up 1 time fault in the 4-star WEF Challenge Cup, also in February. So earlier in the season in Ocala, they picked up some time faults in a 4-star 1m50 Grand Prix qualifier. So really consistent over the jumps, picking up those clear rounds throughout the last couple of months here in 2025.
Yeah, and again, another big jumper, a little bit slower across the ground, so she's going to have to be a little bit mindful of that time allowed. You know, she's hoping to wrap up her circuit with this horse, hopefully, in this class. Just taking a little bit that front rail. Horses look like it got a little bit quick. Maybe the distance got a little bit long into that Liverpool oxer. And then just kind of misjudged the in of that orange double as well. And gets back on track with that triple bar there. Actually jumps great through the double. And that's the first time we've actually seen that last fence come down.
Yeah, finishing up there on the 16 jumping as well as 5-time false there in 81.64. Just that far line at 9A, B, and 10 just not going to plan for Anna. But it is, you know, she came around to the triple bar and down to the double and down to the last oxer. You know, gathered herself quite well, which is, you know, a big testament to a rider and a horse also to continue on as if nothing happened.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially to keep continuing like that, you know, putting that in the back of your head, out of your head. That's super important just to keep going. And obviously the horse is not phased, so, you know, they finished much stronger.
Our first of 5 remaining will be Daniel Blumen, ranked 24th in the world. He is aboard Corby VV. This is a 10-year-old mare by Cornet Oblensky out of Corby VV. These two picking up some top results already this season together. Picking up a 5th place in a 4-star Grand Prix in Ocala. Clear rounds at the 5-star level here with us. Also picked up a 4th place in a 5-star 1m50 Classic during a week 9.
Yeah, we've definitely seen this partnership jump some big tracks already. This horse is so scopy, so fun to watch. You know, talking to Daniel, he said he struggled a tiny bit with some of the rideability and manufacturing. Such a powerful horse. He's gone back to the drawing board, worked with some, you know, dressage, working on the flat with the horse, and then kind of coming back and figuring out the correct bridle. Really short gets the 7 done, though, really fighting for that 7. Huge jump at that triple bar. Now needs to slow it down. Wow, big, powerful jump. And a beautiful clear.
There we go, Daniel Blumen giving us our 14th clear in tonight's Hermès 1m50 season finale here in Wellington International, closing out week 11 for us here in Wellington.
Yeah, he said he would. We would know if the rideability was more successful. So I think I'd call that a success.
Yeah, I think he proved it. It's another fast rider that we will see back for the jump off. So definitely shaping up to be a good jump off tonight. We have those 14 clears so far. We still have 4 remaining, 4 of those very fast riders yet to see. One of those very fast riders that have had success with us so far this season is Roberto Turan. He is aboard Iron Maiden. This is a 10-year-old gelding by Claremont out of La Villa Vanagorkanhart. As I said, already some successes. These two were the winners of the 3-star WEF Challenge Cup during week 1 here in Wellington. Also picking up some top placings at that 5-star level. Week 5, they were second in a 5-star 1m50. Also picking up 4th place in the Hermès 1m50 Classic that week. So placing all around in all the classes they've jumped in so far.
Yeah, this has been a super consistent pair throughout this winter circuit, starting exactly from the get-go. This is a really fun pair to watch, actually. I think he rides this horse very well. And the horse just looks like it's effortless. It puts a lot of effort into these jumps, but it just looks effortless. And I would say this is maybe one to watch. Great job through that 4 strides. You know, it looks like the riders have kind of started to figure out that 4 strides, how it might ride, prepare for a possibility of a 5 as well. really powerful through that 2 stride. And quiets down nicely for the 7.
Whoa!
You hear whoa coming from him. He knew it was going to be short. Again, we see that B element that might surpass all the others coming down now.
Yeah, it's come down like 7 or 8 times so far. So Roberta just finishing there in the 4 jumping falls in 74.35. That double really proving to be the most difficult obstacle in today's course.
Absolutely. You know, it's a little bit hard to see. It kind of has the black on the edges of the poles, the white all through the middle. So all you see is just so much white with a little bit of shadowy black coming through. So it's kind of hard for the horses to judge that as well.
When walking, did you think it was going to be something that it was going to cause as much of an issue as it is?
I thought it was going to be delicate. It's a very tall vertical, so a lot of riders want to kind of come in steady and careful, and it followed by, it is quite a square and wide enough oxer. So I thought it was going to be an issue, but maybe not so much of an issue.
Our first of 3 remaining will be Adrienne Sternlick. She is aboard Farquetkal. This is a 15-year-old gelding by Verdi TN out of a capital S. These two made their first appearance with us here in Wellington this year during week 9. They were double clear jumping in the 5-star 1m45. Also put in a beautiful clear round in the Hermès 1m50 Classic that week, so at that 5-star level.
Yeah, Adrienne's been partnered with this horse for quite a few years now. Such a huge jumper, so scopy. It's quite fun to watch it jump. You know, it a little bit slower across the ground, but she's really kind of figured that out. She really hustled 1, 2, and 3. She's used this horse definitely for some of the Nations Cup events as well, so no stranger to big jumping. Oh, and it kind of fell a little bit late. We see that B element come down. Just towed it behind. Huge effort over the triple bar. So you opt for the 6 strides to this double. Time might be a little bit of a factor.
Yeah, just over on that time also. So that 4 jumping coming down at part B of 9, as well as that 1 time fault there for Adrienne Sternlick in 77.25. That double once again causing more problems.
Yeah, absolutely. And it just looked like it fell a tiny bit late. Just barely towed it behind.
Do you think it's something that people are looking at, you know, because that distance to 10 is so short, people are nearly anticipating it a little bit too early and, you know, sitting back over that second part and then just the back end clipping it a little bit?
I mean, possibly, yeah. It almost is like too boring. Like the B element is almost a little bit too boring or too airy of a fence to even pay much attention to. And so they're maybe sitting back for that. Again, it's 2 strides, so that's 2 more strides or 1 more stride than a normal 1 stride to adjust and get back. So.
Our first of 2 remaining is Peter Lutz. He is aboard Katrina. This is a 10-year-old mare by Cannon out of Amita. Another one of our combinations with several successes during the season, picking up some placings in 3 of our Hermès 1m50 Classics. During week 2, they were 3rd at a 3-star level. During week 4, they were 8th at a 4-star level. And during week 9, they put in a very beautiful double clear at that 5-star level in the Hermès series.
Yeah, Peter's had this horse for a few years now, so he's kind of developed with the horses. It's still quite young, 10 years old. So it's been nice to kind of partner with. It's fun, as a rider to partner with the young horse and kind of develop it through the height levels. Definitely a very active horse. You can see there it's really fighting him to come back, getting that steady 7 done. And then just kind of needs to slow it down now through this double. Does a great job studying the fence, really coming off the front rail. And maybe a time fault.
Yeah, just over with that time there. Peter Lutz getting 2 time faults there in 78.23. So unfortunately starting himself into a 17th place. As of now, we have those 14 clears with just one remaining. As we spoke about earlier, that under 25 series here in Wellington, our winner of that under 25 series, we'll see her return into the ring tonight. It is Hallie Grimes. She is aboard Caroline of Balmore. This is a 15-year-old mare by Diardo out of Fairline the 5th. As I said, part of Hallie's winning streak in that under 25 series, this combination together were the winners of the under 25 Grand Prix during week 6 over on the grass field. Also picked up 5th place in the under 25 finale here last week.
Yeah, it looks like they want a really cool scooter.
Yeah.
I love that. That looks so great.
I think that was a good price.
Absolutely. And a good price, especially for, the overall series winner. That just shows the consistency over 3 months of jumping. That's definitely an accomplishment in itself. And now that this U25 series is so popular, you see, anywhere from 30 to 60, 70 riders every class in those U25s.
Yeah, it's very, it's a very competitive series. We're lucky here in Wellington to have great sponsors that, support those series, and Brain Juice have been a great sponsor of that under 25 series both this year and last year.
Absolutely, and this horse is jumping beautiful. Gets away with a light rub at the A element of that orange double. Really steadies for the 7. We've seen this horse definitely the winner of the series of week 12 big Grand Prix with Ashley Bond a few years back on the grass. So no stranger to big jumping.
There we go. Hallie Grimes gives us our 15 clear just inside that time allowed
just inside
77 seconds, finishing there in 76.33. Just half a second inside that time allowed there. Hallie Grimes gives us our 15th clear.
And I feel like that's kind of this is a great example of a stepping tool for the U25 series to kind of jump straight into a 4-star level type event in a 150. So it's a great ladder to climb.
For sure. Also building that confidence to be able to go into the big ring.
Absolutely.
With these animals and, perform under the lights here against, we have Carl Cook on his Olympic mount.
And the professional competitors.
Exactly.
Yep.
It's very, it's a testament to us here in Wellington that we have such a great, developing riders underneath us. So we do have those 15 clears. We will see 15 to return for that jump off. The first of those will be Zoe Contour, our first that we saw in our class tonight, and also was our first clear. Richie Maloney also going clear, Marge Laurier, Bertram Allen, Samuel Hutton, and Natalie Dean. Marilyn Little, Jordan Coyle, Michael Duffy, Charlotte Jacobs, Alex Matz, and Niall Nassar on his Olympic mount from that Tokyo Olympics. Carl Cook will also return on his Olympic mount from Paris. Daniel Blumen, and last to go in our jump off will be our under 25 series winner, Hallie Grimes and Caroline of Balmore. So we have an exciting lineup ahead of us. As I said, 15 to return for the jump off later. We are going to do a quick touch up of the surface here in Wellington. Remove any obstacles that we will not need for the jump off, and we will take a quick break, and we'll be back in about 10 minutes for the jump off of today's $150,000 Hermès 1m50 series finale here in Wellington International.
The cowboy hustle is physically demanding. No doubt you gotta be tough. But even more important is your mental fitness. Your brain has to be firing on all cylinders to perform, to be clear, to concentrate, and to focus. I'm a father, a cowboy, a businessman, and a musician, and so much more. I drink Brain Java House Brew, packed with the brain power blend of essential vitamins and minerals my brain needs every day to get it done. Low in natural sugar, low in calories, low in carbohydrates, and low in sodium. It's a great natural and healthy alternative to energy drinks. Brain Java. Be mindful, be present, turn on your brain.
Welcome back to Wellington International. I am Ellen Sweetnam, and I'm here with Ali Wolf for the jump off of this Hermès 1.50m season finale here in Wellington. We have seen 15 clears in the first round, so we will see 15 return for the jump off today. Course is built by Andy Christensen. We've seen, as I said, 15 clears, very exciting combinations, some Olympic combinations coming back to us. Nayanisar and Eager, his Olympic mount from the Tokyo Olympics, will return for the jump off, as well as Carl Cook on Caracol de la Roque, his mount from the Paris Olympics. Some other notable riders to look at. 4 Irish riders will return for the jump off, as well as our under 25 series winner, Hallie Grimes, will be the last to go in the jump off. Ahead of the first horse walking in, we'll take a quick look at our jump off. Course description is sponsored by Fidelity Investments. So starting over the obstacle at 7. That vertical that caused so many issues in the first round. So jumping over 7, then coming around to that oxer at 8, that brain water oxer with that, the Liverpools at the side, looping back around to a 9A, be removed for the jump off today. Then across the ring to 12A and B, that double that caused many of the issues that we saw in the first round, jumping in quite shallow and short. Now we welcome in a new jump into the jump off, that Griff's Residential vertical at 15. Coming around the bend to also another new obstacle in the course, fence 16, which is a fence 2 reversed and is now a vertical. And then finally finishing over that last obstacle at fence 13, that Hermès oxer at that far end of the ring, jumping into that crowd. So as I said, we will see a total of 15 to return for the jump off. First into the jump off will be our first clear, and also the first that we saw in the first round, Zoe Contour, and as well as some other notable riders. Ali, looking at the lineup, anybody who pops out to you? Looking at that, it's a very, very fast group of people tonight.
Extremely fast group. I would say, Carl with Caracol, such a hard one to beat. If she's on it tonight and he's on it, I'd say that might be the one to beat. Other than that, Niall, like I said, he's just knocking at the door. He's been so consistent over these past 11 weeks. It's anyone's game. I'd say Nat Dean is also really in it, cheering for girl riders. But again, there's so many to choose from. It's going to be extremely fast. We've seen, a little bit with these huge number jump offs. Sometimes the horse rider combinations are trying to go so fast that they actually incur some faults along the way. And then how it ends up happening is that the ones just putting in those kind of nice, moderately fast double clear rounds are the ones actually taking the bigger slice.
Yeah, because you really, you're first into this. You really have to put pedal to the metal. You have 14 very, very fast riders behind you. As you said, Carl Cook on Caracol de la Roque, one of the fastest combinations there is out there. It will be interesting to see if he goes for it tonight or if he's just going to keep her a little bit, calmer going into next week for that Rolex Grand Prix. Same as Niall with Eager. Is he prepping for the Grand Prix next week or what's his plan? So it will be interesting to see how our riders attack today's jump off. As I said, first in will be Zoe Contour. She was our first clear from the first round, so give us that false sense of security, our first rider in.
Absolutely. That was a beautiful round. Also taking into consideration that was like about 2 hours ago. So, some of these horse rider combinations qualifying from that first half. Maybe they're fresher or, depending on your horse, maybe that's a good thing. Maybe that's a bad thing. Maybe they have cooled down already, you need to warm them back up, or vice versa. So
yeah, and the atmosphere in here also with the lights, and it's gotten significantly darker than it was when she jumped her first round, so
absolutely.
Those lights a little bit brighter and those fences shining a little bit more, so it's interesting to see how these horses adapt to their environment for this jump off.
And now we see fence 7. They're nice enough. They took away the skinny poles, put on the normal blue and white poles. Opts for the 8. There might be a 7 there, I'm wondering.
I'm sure someone will try it.
Went a little bit wide to this one, but like we saw in the first round, this is a bogey fence or bogey 2 fences. not to be messed with. Keeping it moderately neat, rolling back to the cask. Newer fence, I should say. A little bit of a dodge around that B element. You know, she got such a great slice on the cask that put her a little bit in the wrong direction, having to weave around that B element.
Zoe Contour putting in a beautiful double clear there in 38.98. Just for reference, landing over 12B at that 20 seconds. So cruising all the way around. You know, the only place you kind of look at is landing from that cast vertical, a little bit of a skew coming down to that oxer at 13. But as you said, such a good slice across that vertical, giving her that extra few seconds.
Exactly. And, you know, first to go in, she wants to put the pressure on, but also wants to have a nice double clear round.
Second to go in the first of our 4 Irish riders that will return for the jump off is Ireland's Richie Maloney. Richie is aboard Skelwith Diamond Lady.
So this horse we saw in the first round, hotter horse, definitely quicker across the ground, maybe a little bit of a shorter stride, so not looking to leave out some distances somewhere, or, you know, leaving out some strides other places. But might try to make it quite neat around some of those turns. Now he's starting off the right lead versus Zoe. Opts for the 8 as well. A little bit quicker rolling back to that orange oxer. And then just kind of slowing down a little bit for this double. Taking his time. We see the 9 strides back to this vertical, the new Griffiths residential vertical. And then fighting to kind of get the horse back on the hocks. A little bit of a extra cluck to that last fence.
Clear around there for Richie Maloney, but just a little bit slower there, slotting himself into a second place in 39.85, so just short of 1 second slower than Zoe Contour. Just for reference, landing off that double at 12B at 19 seconds, so a second faster than Zoe, but, you know, it really was a testament to her turn back to that cask vertical at 16, that, you know, gave her that little, you know, up after the second half of the course.
Yeah, absolutely. And just like what you said, you know, she looked like she was a little bit cautious in some areas, but he looked like he was really hustling for that. Okay, he got a little bit distracted rolling back to the cask, but she was deceivingly fast.
Yeah, really putting pressure on, you know, the rest of the riders that are going to come after her. Third to go is Mario Delorier. He is aboard SNL Quattaro of Van der Mortenhof. So Zoe Contour in that top spot in 38.98.
So it'll be interesting with some of these bigger horses. And there's your 7. I was just going to say, with some of these bigger horses, kind of where they can leave out the strides, where they can make up the time, you know, because this horse is so scopy, so it takes a lot more time in the air than some of those quicker ones that we just saw. Does the same 9 as Richie. Really neat on this rollback, though. Maybe not fast enough, though.
Clear around there, but just over a second slower than Zoe Contour, so putting himself into third place in 40.21. But as you said, very efficient throughout the first round. Was about a second slower, landing off that second part of 12B. But, you know, got that 7 strides from 7 to 8 and, you know, made it look easy. Some people, you know, that's a perk of having the bigger striding horses. You can take strides out without having to compromise your canter, your contact. You know, some of these smaller horses galloping from 7 to 8 to take 1 stride out, you know, you won't be able to get such a tight turn back to 9. So it's something, is a benefit to have that big striding horse, but also big scopy horse. You waste a little bit more time in the air.
Absolutely. And, you know, Andy's kind of designed this course in a way that I think favors a little bit of both. So it's a little bit more of a level playing field. You have long galloping lines followed by some kind of quick rollbacks.
Yeah, currently in the ring is Ireland's Birch Mallon. He is aboard Kingston. Just for reference, time to beat is set by Zoe Contour in 38.98.
We see finally the back rail come down of that Liverpool. I think he was just thinking about the turn a little bit too early before the horse finished the jump behind. But then, you want to know the strategy. If there's 15 in the jump off, you still want a piece of the pie. So you want to be quick and efficient, not obviously waste another rail down, but, there's going to be a lot of people maybe coming after you having one down that you wish you would have galloped a little bit faster through some of those areas.
Yeah, Bertram just having that one fence down in 39.04. So still not catching Zoe Contour's time of 38.98. Just a little bit slower than Zoe's time. But with that 4 jumping falls, slots himself into 4th place as of now, as our only competitor that has had a fence down in the jump off. But we still have 10 left to go in the jump off, so still all to play for. And as you said, top 12 get prize money. You still, there's 15 in this, you still want to get something out of jumping in the class. So it is important, if you have that fence down, to keep putting pressure on. And with the 15 in the jump off, it can turn into some bit of a rat race sometimes.
Absolutely, because the ones at the end that have one down, they've already done the calculation in their head as they're going around the course, thinking, okay, now I need to put the gas on to get, 6th, 7th place.
Our 5th to go will be Sam Hutton. He is aboard Castellano PS. Reference time to beat is set at 38.98 by Zoe Contour.
We're seeing a lot more of the 7. But again, the 7, you're coming to it at an angle that's a little bit jeopardizing that oxer that we're seeing. Now the front rail came down for that brain juice oxer. So again, seeing his strategy after that, wanting to still be staying on the 4 faults, but maybe trying to be a little bit quicker than Bertram. Looks like he's opting for a little bit of a smoother, kind of steadier ride.
Yeah, and I think that's something we spoke about earlier. Not so many of these horses having so much experience under the lights, so it still is an educational ride at the same time. Sam Hutton just finishing there with the 4 jumping falls in 45.25, so slots himself into 5th place as of now, with still 9 remaining in our jump off. Our first of our 2 competitors are part of that Team USA all women's team that earned that win here in Wellington a couple weeks ago in our Nations Cup. Nally Dean comes into the ring on Oasis of Vanda Buckentail. Time to beat is set by Zoe Contour in 38.98. It's really deceivingly fast she was, and was very tight everywhere and kept that canter up and really put the pressure on everybody else that comes after her.
Absolutely. Yeah, that was really, really impressive. Nat's definitely going to give it a go. She's already winding up.
And a very fast mount. This horse is always very fast and very tidy.
There she's off. Jeopardizing a little bit the back, the turn on the backside, just having to kind of go get the 7 a little bit late. Now slow it down.
She's up landing from that oxer. And this is where Zoe really made
Whoa.
up her time.
Oh, that was too bad. She had such a great turn after that double and then just came on such a slice, the horse almost thought it was going to halt in front of the standard. And she, just by spinning so fast back on it, it just goes to show it was just miscommunication.
And that is, the jump offs. It's all about taking those risks.
Exactly.
And some of them mightn't pay off, but you definitely have to try with the 15 in the jump off. Yeah, Nat just finishing there with the 8 jumping faults and 5 time faults there, setting herself into 6th place, just, due to that little bit of a run out. But as you said, very quick recovery, looped back very fast and kept the ball rolling throughout the rest of the course.
Yeah, it just looked like she went to go half halt, maybe more with the right rein. The horse's head was bent a little bit towards the standard and the railing and really had no idea it was going to go jump that fence. But again, you have to go for it. And she's competitive. She's going to go for it.
Our 7 to go in the jump off out of her, expected a 15 to return. This is Marilyn Little. She is aboard Olympic of Van der Norfenhal. Already picking up some wins during our season so far, so definitely a fast combination. I feel like I say that about everybody, that they're a fast combination. But coming in here, time to beat is set by Zoe Contour in the 38.98. Ideally landing from that double at 12B at about 19 seconds. But as we said, Zoe really putting the pressure on that second half of the course with that good slice across to that cask vertical.
Absolutely. And again, Marilyn not to be discounted. She can ride a very quick, efficient track. you know, this might not be the quickest horse in the group, but she definitely knows, kind of has already calculated and strategized what she needs to do to get the maximum out of this horse. And just, we find that B element coming down again. Nice slice back. Though, again, you know, now she's thinking, okay, I got to go for it. I have the one down. Marky, I think, is the head of the quicker of the 4 faults.
Yeah, just coming home there with the 4 faults, and actually our first rider that has beaten Zoe Contour's time. 4 faults there in 38.47, so really proves how fast she was. Just unfortunately with that 4 faults, so will slot into us as our fastest 4 faulter as of now. And just for reference, we only have our 3 double clears out of the 7 that we have seen.
So this is kind of where, you know, the field kind of pulls apart a little bit. Some are maybe pushing a little bit. Maybe they saw early on and they want to go chase after Zoe, and then pushing what they can give a little bit too far. So causing them to have one down. And this is kind of how it plays out in such a huge field.
Yeah, Marlon just proving there that Zoe's time is, you are able to beat it. So, you know, gives people that encouragement that there is that time there to beat. Currently in the ring is Jordan Coyle on 4 gold. A reference Zoe Contour still in that top spot with that beautiful double clear in 38.98.
Jordan always going to give it a go. Had a really nice turn actually on the backside of that oxer. Really, really efficient there. He's definitely coming a little bit stronger into this double than most did.
Yeah, landing from that at 17 seconds.
Opts for the wide 9 to have a smoother transition back on the cask. Gets away with the rub at the cask.
He's really galloping down to the
Wow.
last oxer.
Wow.
There we go. Jordan Coyle taking 3 seconds off Zoe Contour's time. Clear on there in 35.68. And as I said in the first one, every time I watch that horse, it's deceivingly small. Its stride is so large, it eats up ground as it gallops
Absolutely.
across.
And it's so efficient
So
across
efficient.
the fences.
It's so careful, it just skims across everything exactly what it needs to do. So Jordan slotting himself into the lead there, taking off 3 seconds from Zoe's time. It's now really becomes that sort of
Yes,
rat race of
absolutely.
let's run and let's try and beat him.
Gloves are off.
Yeah.
Wow. That was a jump.
And really stretched over that oxer to make sure they got over it. Back-to-back Irish riders. Michael Duffy returns to the field. He is aboard RMF Clinton's son.
So like we talked about in the first round, a little bit of a slower moving horse. You know, it's going to be interesting to see what Michael's plan is. Jordan did the leave outs. He was efficient across the ground. You know, where can you make up that extra? I mean, even 0.2 of a second.
Because Andy has really built the course today to suit both a larger striding horse, but also, you know, the short and tidy ones to get those turns towards the end of the track. You have the opportunity to open up from 7 to 8, but, you know, you need tight back to that oxer at 9 and opening up across the field, and then tight from that Griff residential 15 back to that Cass oxer, or vertical, sorry, at 16.
Exactly. So you really have to have an adjustable horse to kind of be at the top of the podium here. Just takes the back pole. I think he was just thinking turning in the air. Again, trying to figure out where he can make up the time that Jordan maybe spent. Got a great roll back to that cask, though.
Just coming home there on the 4 jumping falls in 38.61. There for Michael Duffy, slotting himself into 6th place. So the second fastest 4 faulter as of now. Marlon Little still our fastest 4 faulter. And Jordan Coyle still in that top spot in 35.68. So 3 seconds in between our first and second so far.
So again, with the newer mount for, you know, Charlotte coming in, it'll be interesting to see what risks she's willing to take.
Yeah, the second of the 2 ladies that we'll see back that were part of that Team USA gold medal team here in Wellington. This is Charlotte Jacobs. She is aboard Korbash van der Rengar. And as you said, a newer mount for Charlotte, already picking some top placings up together through the couple of weeks of season that they've been together. So it'll be interesting to see what she does. And, you know, Jordan really has put pedal to the metal. You have to start at the first vertical and keep committing until you jump over that last oxer.
She gets a big send-off from the crowd, though. That's exciting. I think we'll see a lot of people now sticking with the 7. A little bit wider on the rollback.
Nice slice across that oxer.
Just toes that top pole of that A element. Just maybe didn't put quite straight enough jumping over it. But again, you still want to be a little bit quick. A little bit deep to the cask, rolls in the cups, but stays.
Yeah, just coming home there with the 4 jumping false there in 39.83, slotting herself into 8th place. And as you said, you know, with the 4 false, you still want to be fast. We do only have those 4 double clears as of now, with 4 remaining in the jump, or 5 remaining, sorry, in the jump off. So still wanting to, you know, keep your foot on the gas with when you have that fence down.
But what an exciting pair to look forward to for the summer and stuff.
A very fast combination.
Very, yeah.
So next in, we welcome Alex Matz. He is aboard Cashew CR. One more for reference. Jordan Coyle winning so far, in the lead so far in 35.68.
Gets away with a light rub at fence number 7. I was going to say, you know, he could give him a little bit of a run for his money. He's very efficient, this horse, over the fences, and very quick, kind of galloping away from the fences as well. He's coming in pretty hot to the double, but he knows this horse so well. Does the 8. That's 1 less. It's a pretty good rollback. Go, Alex.
Keep going, keep going.
The crowd is with him. Oh! Wow. Is that enough? That's enough. Wow.
There we go. Alex Matz taking over the lead clear out there in 35.31. So just shaving 300th of a second off of Jordan Coyle's time. Alex Matz now taking over lead in 35.31, and Jordan Coyle slotting into second in 35.68.
That's what I wanted to say. I want to see this last fence. I don't think the horse saw the fence until he was taking off.
And that it, you know, as you said, a long-term partnership,
exactly.
An older horse. It's great to see the harmony between the two of them, of his pure trust coming down to that big oxer.
That's where partnership pays off.
Yeah. Really committing.
That was full commitment.
Yeah. But great to see Alex Matz taking over the lead there in 35.31. It's going to be. I thought Jordan
exciting.
Wasn't going to be able to be beaten.
I did not either.
But Alex really doing a good job. And, you know, as you said, not wasting too much time in the air. The horse is so careful, but skims across everything, does exactly what it needs to do, and really ate up that ground throughout the jump off.
So these last few riders are really under pressure now.
They're going to have to really commit from the first vertical to catch Alex. The first of our 4 remaining in the jump-off will be Olympic mounts from that Tokyo Olympics. Niall Nassara and Igor Van der Wittenmoor. And as we know, Niall, a very, very fast rider.
Very fast.
Was the winner of our first week Grand Prix, that 3-star with ESI Ali. Put in a very fast jump-off that night.
You know, it'll be interesting because he typically does add with this horse. This horse has a much shorter stride than most of these other horses. So he can still add down the lines and be more efficient. It just is, we'll see. Yeah, so he opts for the 8. That's pretty typical. And so quick on the backside. Here we go. Opts for the 9, so that's 1 more than Alex. Wow, that was tight. Ooh, now go.
He just needs to commit.
Go.
No pulling the reins. Keep going.
Go.
Does he have it?
I don't think so. Wow.
Niall Nassar putting himself into third place there in 36.15. You really saw that from both Alex and Jordan. They trusted wholeheartedly in their horses to jump over that last oxer.
Absolutely. I'd say that he almost had him, except for that maybe the last oxer galloping down, the distance that he saw. The horse jumped the oxer so well, maybe didn't land going forward through the timers as fast as the other ones. There we see. Taking just a little bit of a balance, but just landing, I think, a little bit more shallow than the other ones and not racing as quickly through the time. And all we're talking about is half a second, not even.
Yeah. And I think, what might be a little bit deceiving on the live stream compared to looking on the ring, that oxer at 13 is at quite of an angle. You really need to turn and straight. It's not a straight gallop from the cask to that oxer. You really need to turn. It's nearly, in a theory, kind of a bit of a right angle at the end there. You can gallop for a bit, but then you really have to turn.
Absolutely.
Which we saw from Alex Matz. His horse only got, I think, one strike to look at it at the end, but it paid off. Carl Cook on his Olympic mount, Caracol de la Rock currently in the ring. Obviously, notoriously a very, very fast combination.
Wow, that was fast. Oh, too fast. We turned too tight. He took out the standard almost. And so that, like we were talking about, such a large field of jump off, like you keep pushing, the next person keeps pushing harder and harder and harder until finally someone kind of cracks and makes a little bit of a mistake. And, this horse turns so well, so well, almost too well, that she just turned so quick. And I think maybe his foot hit the standard. And look how fast she is with slowing down.
Yeah. 4 falls there in 38.04 there for Carl Cook, slotting himself into 7th place. I believe the fastest of our 4 falters so far, and he slowed down. So I don't even want to know how fast he would have been if he didn't.
The horse didn't even touch, that was Carl's foot that touched the standard. So
she turned too well.
She turned too well. What a bad problem to have.
We definitely want to watch. It's exciting to have them here also.
Absolutely.
They were on the West Coast coming to us here for the Rolex Grand Prix next week. So
and honestly, that's a great warm-up for, for the final on Sunday. Such a confident ride.
For sure. It's, giving that confidence to go into this ring and, the mare doesn't bat an eyelid at the lights or anything like that. First of 2 remaining is Daniel Blumen. He is aboard Corvi VV.
So we'll get to test a little bit the rideability with this horse. How fast is he going to push it? It's Daniel, so he's going to push it a little.
He's never someone you'd count out of a jump off.
No. This is a good rollback. A little bit slower, I think, than the others. Now fighting to kind of get that rideability back. Huge jump through the double. It's a great turn back on that vertical. Not as quick as some of the others, but still very tighty. Still quite fast.
Yeah, coming home there with a clear round in 36.5 for Daniel Blumen, setting himself into 4th place. Still fast, but as you said, working on that rideability, building that relationship together. It really is a testament to Alex Matz and his partnership with Cashew that they have full trust in each other and were able to put down a jump off like they did.
Absolutely.
So our last to go on our under 25 series winner, Hallie Grimes. She will take on Alex Matz's time of 35.31 on her mount, Caroline of Balmore.
We got audiences with her, cheering her on.
Everybody eagerly watching to see what she can do. And as we said, she's a past winner in this ring. Has won the under 25 Grand Prix on the grass a couple weeks ago. Obviously picking up some top placings.
This is a fast horse.
Very, very fast horse.
So can she turn back as tight? Maybe not as tight, but at least she's still hustling through the turn. A little bit wider there. And then a little bit slower here. We saw Alex take a real shot into this double. Last minute decides on the 9. Probably better to kind of get the roll back on this backside. Maybe not as fast, but if she keeps them up, she'll be contender for some big placings.
There we go. Hallie Grimes giving us a double clear in 36.41. Slotting herself into 4th place. So Alex Matz on his Mount Cashew CR takes the top spot in today's Hermès 1m50 Classic finale here in Wellington International. A very exciting lineup, as you can see the replay there of Hallie Grimes coming down to that Griff's Residential. Oxer giving her horse some encouragement to make up some time before of that back turn to that cask vertical. A very exciting jump off.
That
We
was
had
a very
15
exciting
to,
jump off.
to see in that jump off. It was very, very fast. Everybody kept pedal to the metal the whole time.
Absolutely. What a thrill. And even Zoe, for starting off the bat of the first round and the jump off, already slapping down the pace. I mean, she really held strong pretty much till the end. And what a win for Alex. That was so exciting, so well deserved. Love to see just an old partnership like that. A 17-year-old horse looking so great.
Yeah, it really is a testament to the harmony between both Alex and his mount, that pure trust that they had in each other to go around that jump off today. With the way they did it, it was pure trust and pure skill at the same time.
Pure excitement, too.
Yeah. So as you can see, Alex Matz taking the top spot there. Perfect there. Alex Matz taking the top spot there. Jordan Coyle taking second, and Niall Nassar taking third. We are going to take a quick look at the winning round there from Alex Matz. Ali, just before we see that winning round, it was phenomenal to see both Alex and, Cashew putting everything they could into that jump off. Jordan Coyle, I really thought he wasn't going to be beaten.
I agree.
So just looking at Alex Matz's winning round there, we're going to see it pop up on the screen. As you can see there.
He's lucky enough he gets away with quite a good rub there, and I think that kind of helped him, benefited in the long run. Got that 7, and look at this turn, so quick. And he doesn't even look like he's going fast.
No.
That's how efficient he is. He was so efficient here, rolling back to the double. Really didn't take that much of a pull into the double. That's trust right there.
Mm-hmm.
And then really starts to hustle.
And just let it gallop down to that vertical.
I mean, found a big one into the vertical, but knew how quickly Cashew can roll back to the cask. And here we go. Here's the winning the winning jump right here. That was spectacular.
There we go. That's our winner, Alex Matz, taking that top spot in the Hermès 1m50 Classic finale here in Wellington International. Put in an unbelievable round.
Absolutely. And look how excited. I mean, that smile says it all.
Yeah, for sure. Overjoyed with his win tonight. And as we said, Jordan Coyle taking that second spot there. As you can see, Alex just coming into the ring now ahead of the presentation here in Wellington International.
He's been so consistent throughout this circuit, so in some of those bigger classes, especially with some of those other horses that he's developing or bringing along. So it's really exciting for kind of seeing all that work play out to fruition here, and especially with his partner that he's known for so long.
For sure. His other mount, Junior Cannon, the two of them have had, many successes during the season, really growing and developing that friendship or that partnership together. Put in some, they got some top placings in that 5-star Grand Prix a couple weeks ago. So Alex really having a, good season with us, which is nice to see, people coming down to us here in Wellington. They relocate themselves for the winter and are able to, pick up some top results for the season.
Absolutely. And he has such a great team behind him. So many great supporters. His grooms are absolutely phenomenal. So it's not only just a great win for him, but such a great win for his team. I know they're all going to be so thrilled.
Yeah, Alex just getting ready there for the presentation there. We'd like to thank Hermès for the, being sponsors, the title sponsor of the Hermès 1m50 series finale here. Was a title sponsor of the 1m50 Classic throughout the 11 weeks of season. Like, what week are we in now?
Exactly.
And you can see the horse just getting some mainstream munchies there. Our winning horse getting some carrots as a well-deserved treat at the end of his or her round.
And, of course, the Grooms Award. That is so fantastic. Double H sponsors the Grooms Award to the groom of the winning horse and rider combination. They can never be overstated enough. The importance of the grooms, these guys behind the scenes that just are, I mean, we as riders rely on so strongly, especially the horses. They know these horses like the back of their hands. I mean, they are just phenomenal. So I love that they're getting recognition as well.
Yeah, I think, we've touched on it throughout the class tonight is, the grooms, the people on the floor, your bar manager, all those people that are on the floor that are not necessarily the rider. The horses are the ones that develop the most with them. They're spending the most time with them. As we said, a lot of these riders now are flying back and forth from different countries, different continents across the Atlantic Ocean. And these, those people on the floor are the ones that are keeping them fit, healthy, ready for the rider to land back from, being somewhere else and being able to hop on them and jump, a 5-star class or even a 1-star or 2-star. It's all about developing those horses and, giving those horses the opportunity to develop and, bringing up some riders' stringer horses as well.
Absolutely, and especially like you said, when you're traveling so much, the horses rely on their humans as much as we rely on them, and so giving them that extra security and comfort traveling with the person that they know so well.
You can see just Alex Matz running back into the ring there ahead of our podium presentation. We'd like to thank Hermès, and thanks to the members of the Hermès family that have come to for the presentation today. Leah Rogers Muirfield, Equestrian Client Development Manager, Kate McNamee, Senior Account Executive, and Tara De Reader, the Development and Partner Rider Expert for Hermès. You can see them there, just part of the presentation. And you can see our winner taking up his position on the podium there. Alex Matz taking top spot there. Niall Nassar in third and Jordan Coyle in second there. You can see just some photo opportunities there with the three guys together, as well as our members from our Hermès team here to take some photos. Great to see some, top riders on that podium and picking up some results. It's one of the hardest in the world is to get some top results at Wellington International. You're competing against some of the best in the world. So it is a great testament to these guys to pick up some top placings and be able to travel around and, get that top placings here.
Absolutely. And, one of my favorite things that they've implemented this year is they've allowed the crowd to kind of come into the arena, get a little bit closer to our winners here. And it's a more personable effect, I think. And, it draws a crowd and keeps them a little bit later here. And they're so excited to be there and interact with the riders, too. The riders get down off the podium and come give some autographs. And I think that's so spectacular.
Yeah, just playing the national anthem of our winning nation here for Alex Matz, the national anthem of the USA. But as you said, Ali, it's great to see these people, being able to come into the ring and interact with our riders.
Absolutely, because it starts there.
There you go. There are some champagne celebrations there from the three guys. Alex Matz getting a well-deserved victory there with some champagne. The three guys together celebrating first, second, and third tonight. As we said, this is a series, so Hermès have sponsored the 1m50 series throughout the last 11 weeks of season. The winner of that season is Spencer Smith. Spencer did not compete in tonight's class, but the winner of this series will receive a $10,000 store credit to Hermès, as well as some good goodies from Hermès to use. So great to see Hermès sponsoring this series here in Wellington. It's a great addition to our facility here and also the classes to bring that extra element for that 1m50 series here in Wellington, adding that extra bit of competitivity within the Hermès 1m50 Classic. There you go, Spencer Smith, the winner of the Hermès 1m50 series here in Wellington, receiving his $10,000 store credit to Hermès, as well as some extra Hermès goodies.
It's not too shabby.
No, for sure not. He looks very, very
I
happy.
would be too.
There you go, Spencer Smith getting his prize there from Leah, as well as the other members from the Hermès family. And Ali, as we spoke about that crowd, you can see some of our members of our staff here in Wellington throwing some T-shirts out to the crowd, inviting them all into the crowd, and getting that time to spend with the competitors and our winners. So signing some autographs there and some T-shirts there, our top 3, as well as Spencer Smith might head out that way also. And, it's a big inspiration. I feel like every child you remember, meeting your idols so small, even if you're doing the itty bitties or
For
just
sure.
starting off. I know I can remember meeting my idols as a 4 or 5-year-old child and being able to have that memory and the inspiration to be just like them. And, they've watched Alex just win that class and be able to interact with him and get a photo, have a chat with him and figure out, pick his brain on a
Absolutely.
few things. So it really is an asset that we've, incorporated here in Wellington International and hope to continue and inspire some younger riders.
And one of those lucky kids got the ribbon too, so always exciting. Alex's ribbon, he handed off to one of the members of the crowd.
And I'm sure those, they'll cherish that for the rest of
There
their
it
life.
is.
Look at the ribbon getting signed and everything by him. So I'm sure that'll be framed somewhere
And
in
they
somebody's
asked later
house.
how it started.
Yeah.
There it is.
You can see just Alex signing some T-shirts there for the crowd, interacting within the community, taking some selfies. So great to see. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining us tonight for the final of the Hermès 1m50 series here in Wellington International. Tomorrow we have our 4-star Grand Prix here in the stadium. So make sure you tune in for that. Ali, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, Ellen.
Don't forget, guys, Grand Prix tomorrow. Tune again. I'm Ellen Sweetnam and I was here with Ali Wolf tonight. So make sure you tune in again tomorrow for that 4-star Grand Prix.